All right, everybody, welcome back to the Nintendo Select podcast. I'm your host, BoTalksGames, joined as always by Tucker Hayes. And now, Tucker, because of your little work schedule here, we're
Yeah.
recording this a whole day early. So if any
Yes, we are.
juicy news happens on Thursday, May 18th, well, too bad, because we
Well, I
gotta
mean, we usually
adhere to
record in the
you.
morning, so there's really only like
True.
5 hours worth of time where it could happen. It's certainly possible, and we'll make a big goddamn deal
Right.
about it next week if we
Well,
miss something.
in all fairness, there actually is something that we're going to talk about that is getting revealed tomorrow. So
That's a
we
great
will
point.
hit to
That's a
that.
great point.
So if there's if Nintendo announces they're shutting down tomorrow, too bad. You'll still be hearing this on Friday. But of course, Tucker, how are you doing? We haven't talked since last week. I'm excited to get into Zelda with you later on,
Yeah.
of course. But how you
Well, of
doing?
course, that is not only the most important thing that happened to me this week is Tears of the Kingdom, but it's also like this is just the majority of my week, as we'll get into. It's shaped my week in like really interesting ways, and part of the thing that is really shaping my week last week and tonight is that I have 1 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. work shifts, which I think I might have mentioned last week, and it was when I was going to play my first few hours of Zelda, which is true, as I'll get to. But so, last week I did my 1 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. shift, and then I got home at 7:30 a.m. and I could not go to sleep for the life of me. I was laying in bed. I'm like, this is terrible. The lights coming through my shitty ass like blinds. I'm just sitting there like, what am I gonna do? And then so I just didn't fall asleep until I like was playing Zelda and I just crashed. Like I hard fell asleep. I didn't even notice. I woke up at 6:30 p.m. and I thought I had slept for 24 hours. My mind told me I had been out for a day. And I've never been that tired in my entire life. And unfortunately, I'm sensing that it's possible that that'll happen again tomorrow. And I did not want to get home at 7:30, do a podcast at 9, and just like fall headfirst on the desk in the middle of a 3-hour podcast. So I'm like, Bo, hear me out. It's gonna be better if we
Please.
do it the night before.
Yeah, well, you also offered early Friday, and this is completely selfish. I just didn't want to have to wake up that early.
Yeah, totally fair. Totally fair.
So, but yeah, of course, general housekeeping stuff. We are on Spotify now. Get us on Spotify. Yeah. But big announcement. I've seen some people asking. I did set up Apple Podcast. You have to pay for that.
Oh,
apparently, it's $20 for a year. I did set it straight through Apple. I don't care though. Okay. $20, whatever. But yeah, I was surprised by that. But yes, we are on Apple Podcast now. Leave us reviews. I've always heard from other podcasts I listen to. Very important. So if you want to leave us a nice 5-star review, or if you want to leave us a 1-star review, I guess that's fair too. Really, any review, any publicity, good publicity, right?
Yeah,
maybe not in this case.
Well, I know that from personal experience. Most of the most popular YouTube videos on my YouTube channel are because people don't like what we said.
What's that one? It's a Sephiroth reaction. That's right.
Yes, Sephiroth revealed at the Game Awards, and I'm like, in the video, there's live proof. I did not delete the video; it's out on the internet. I'm like, this is stupid. This is lame, and everyone disliked that. Got the Fallout thing. Everyone disliked that, and it got so many goddamn views, and everyone just called me like, yeah, kids these days they don't understand gaming. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man.
I was also similarly. Like, I think Sephiroth is an awesome character, and I like Sephiroth, and I think his design is sick. I was similarly disappointed just because it was another Final Fantasy VII rep.
Yes, and
that's the issue. 100%. He's a great character, and I'm okay with him being in Smash. But I remember watching. I think I was at work. I was working at Walmart at the time, and I saw that. Like, I was just watching on my phone in the break room or something, and I was like, huh. Okay. It's a great trailer too. With the music.
It's a great trailer. Yeah. And then he kills Mario, and it's a whole thing. But yeah, the reason I was disappointed in it, and I haven't really like been given a chance to like redeem myself or like, explain myself for why I had that opinion at first, is because it's exactly the thing of what you said. Is it's another Final Fantasy VII character, and having Cloud in Smash 4, great. Oh my god, technically not from a Nintendo console, except for like if you like count some really weird small appearances, whatever. Okay, awesome. They're really reaching out and grabbing new things. Square then brings in Hero, and Hero has Dragon Quest out the wazoo. Every fucking era is represented. Music is crazy. The character is like 4 characters in one across the entire series. Awesome. They're really stepping outside of their boundaries. Cloud notoriously only Final Fantasy VII music, Final Fantasy VII stage, Final Fantasy VII character. And I'm like, look, if they're going to represent the Final Fantasy series, which has like 20 games in it, counting spin-offs, reach outside your boundaries. There's so many cool ones. There's protagonists, there's villains, there's side characters from like 20 games that you could choose. And they just choose another Final Fantasy VII guy, a very cool Final Fantasy VII guy. But then only more Final Fantasy VII music and another Final Fantasy VII stage. And it's like, this does not represent the franchise. Smash is so good, at representing the breadth of franchises. It's so hyper specific on Final Fantasy VII is the only Final Fantasy game that matters. What the heck is that?
I mean,
Come on.
it does feel like that's how Square Enix treats Final Fantasy in general, which is
Yeah.
annoying.
Full Final Fantasy VII is like its own series.
Right. Well, they're all their own series. You know, you have 13, 13-2, Lightning Returns, 10, 10-2.
Yeah.
12 has like a DS spinoff.
Does it?
Yeah, it does actually. And I think they're even talking about making 10-3, which would be crazy for them to go back to. I would love that just because it's funny. Yeah, I don't know.
When are they going to do that? They've got so many Final Fantasy games in the works.
Well, I mean, hey, they're doing after 7 remake. Well, also 9 remake is rumored. Maybe we'll be seeing that next week. We'll get to that a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. For me, at a certain point, and I'm like I said, I think last week or the week before, we're gonna do like a whole episode at some point just about Smash characters that we want, or like our dream roster, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
At a certain point with Smash Ultimate and its DLC, I would say honestly, as soon as the first DLC pass came out, I wanted Rex and Pyre because I love Xenoblade 2, and obviously Banjo-Kazooie was like on the list, and you know, like Isaac from Golden Sun. But for the most part, it's not about the actual character; it's about more representation.
Absolutely,
Which is why I don't care about Fatal Fury, or really, I don't even care about Tekken. But I'm fine with those characters being in there because it represents more of the gaming space. That's why I wanted like a Resident Evil character, even though I know that would never happen.
That would be fun.
Just more representation.
Yeah.
So for them to not only not represent more Final Fantasy, but to hone in even further on 7.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, we got more music, and that's nice. But
yeah. But more Final Fantasy VII music. And because of that, though, I had played Final Fantasy VII. I played probably, I don't know, a third of it before that, and I thought it was fine. But I've since gone back and played more Final Fantasy VII. I really do like that game. And I want to play the remake at some point because I've heard that's really great.
Yeah.
But that inspired me to step out of Final Fantasy VII and play my first non-Final Fantasy VII game because I was so upset about Sephiroth. I played Final Fantasy VI, which is one of my favorite games of all time, and I think better than Final Fantasy VII, and I think has more interesting music and characters and yada,
I think
yada,
a lot
yada.
of people would agree with that.
Boom.
I haven't played 6. I've my Final Fantasy. We're really off the beaten path right now for the intro of the podcast. My history with Final Fantasy is I played 7 growing up on like an emulator. It is Nintendo.
Yeah.
So I played 7 a little bit. I tried playing 10.
And they're now on Switch. The Pixel Remaster
everything's on. Yeah, perfect. I'm gonna get through what I hopefully when I'm done with Tears of the Kingdom because I never played 1 through 6. So I played like half of 10. I played half of the original 7. And then for some reason I played 13 and 13-2, which people hate. And at the time I didn't like them, but I definitely have like a little bit of nostalgia for them now. I never played Lightning Returns. 15 I really love, and 16 looks great. And then I played 7 Remake. So I mostly played modern Final Fantasy. So I don't really know what character I would have preferred them to add. Most people would say Terra, right, or Kefka.
Yeah,
I would imagine. But like adding Noctis, people were saying Noctis. I don't think that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, but really, I think they could have gone for any of the other protagonists because they're so. I mean, Sephiroth is very visually distinct, but in terms of representation of other areas of the franchise, like Cloud and Final Fantasy VII is so like tech oriented, and of course you've got the Midgar stage that has steam going on in the background, of big metal buildings and stuff, and like you could represent like the classic era or Final Fantasy 9 or 12, which has a more like fantasy feel to it, or even go all the other direction and go full modern and have Noctis and his other buddies like show up as parts of his attacks, and you've got like them driving in a car in the background.
That'd be a cool stage,
yeah. Or Lightning, or I can't really remember too many of the other character names. Squall, Leonhardt. Oh god, let's see if I can pull another one. The one from 9 has like a monkey tail. What's his name? Ooh, was it 8?
Is that Vivi is in 9, but
Vivi's
that's the Black Mage. Oh yeah, Vaughn's 12.
Yeah, Vaughn's 12. I don't know. My favorite knowledge is limited.
That's the funny thing. I love Final Fantasy, but I've only played like 4 or 5 games.
That's a lot of games.
I also played 15 Pocket Edition. Don't get it twisted. That game's actually pretty good for what it is. But no, I feel like I have like more knowledge of Final Fantasy than anyone who hasn't played half the series. Like,
yeah, totally.
Like, why do I know these characters' names? I don't know. I definitely want to get to them, but JRPGs are so long, and I really only have time for Monolith Soft these days. Like, if I'm going to spend time on a JRPG, it's going to be a Monolith Soft game.
Yep. And they put out games so fast.
Yeah, every 6 months it feels like. We're going to be talking about one later in this podcast. So I definitely want to get the Pixel remasters. I was lucky enough to get the physical on Switch and PS4. But also, okay, this is completely collector brain. Obviously, if you watch my channel, you know I'm collector. Collector brain, this is stupid. So, Square Enix did the pre-orders for the Pixel remasters, and it was at like 3 a.m. one night. I just happened to be up, so I got both of them on Switch and PS4. They're worth a lot of money, Tucker.
Yes,
like a lot of money.
Yes.
So I decided I'm not going to open it. I have no intention of selling it, but I'm just not going to open it. So I bought another copy on PlayAsia because they have like a cheaper copy.
And Switch
collector brain. But yeah, I'm excited to get into those, and I also want to play the original Dragon Quest. I never played a Dragon Quest game. I will say that.
I played a little bit 11 on Switch. Yeah. I played the greatest video game name of all time, Dragon Quest 11S. No, Dragon Quest 11 Echoes of an Elusive Age.
S.
There's an S in there somewhere, and then there's another like
Definitive Edition.
Definitive Edition? Yeah. God, that's such a weird fucking name for a video game.
And then the best part was they ported it to PS4 with the S in the title.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Okay, we've been rambling about Square Enix's crazy JRPGs for enough here. Once again, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, get us on there. Ask us questions in the comments of this, in the Discord, or most notably, this is where I've been getting most of the questions from. Every or Wednesday, or in this case, it was Tuesday because we're recording a day early. I make a community post on YouTube. You can comment your questions there. That's the best place to do it. So get your questions in. They can be about current news. They can be about other gaming companies. They can be about. We have one question here that's asking us what our favorite fast food joint is. So it can literally be anything. Yeah, God. Interesting. Yeah, get ready, Tucker. You have like 2.5 hours to prepare for that when we get to it. But Tucker, let's go ahead and get into our news here. So we have a lot of like small news stories, so I don't know, we might not have a lot to say on a lot of these, but this first one I thought was interesting, and it's kind of funny since we just started this podcast, episode 4 here. The Nintendo Power podcast, run by Chris Lates, the original like editor-in-chief of Nintendo Power, the magazine. I'm not very heavily involved. That might be the wrong exact title for what he did there, but they're ending the Nintendo Power podcast, which I believe Nintendo started in either late 2016 or early 2017, and all three major companies have like their podcast. Xbox has theirs with is it Larry Erb? Is that his name?
I actually did not know that there was that podcast, so I can't confirm or deny that.
Okay, and then Sony
Your
has.
Honor, I cannot confirm or deny.
I think Sony has a similar thing. So I don't know. These podcasts are always weird. I clicked on this most recent one. It's the final one, or at least he said it was the final one for now. Nintendo doesn't have any current plans to continue the podcast.
Yeah.
And I clicked on it, and I get what they're going for. It is just a marketing podcast. But so like it's cool because like they've had Reggie on as guests before. They had Kit and Cresta back when they were employees. This time they had someone from Nintendo Treehouse and then someone from like the communications team or something, right? But it's just marketing. They can't speak opinions, and I get that. But it's really weird because they're the first thing they asked, I didn't get too deep in the podcast, was like, what is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and what differentiates it from Breath of the Wild? But they can't just say Breath of the Wild. They say Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is different from Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Like, it's literally like, they have like the TM in, like, like the little TM symbol? It's like they put that into their speech.
that is actually something that really makes Nintendo, I think specifically because they kind of have this feel to the way they like say their games. It like irks me because it feels very like sterile.
Nintendo Switch
and, like,
family
robotic.
of systems, no matter what.
The Nintendo Switch family of systems, and whenever they reference a game in their like advertising or outside of like a trailer in a direct, they say the blank game, the Animal Crossing New Horizons game, or when they were doing the ARMS directs, like we've got some news on the ARMS game.
I just want to know, like,
no one says that.
Do they train their employees to talk like this? Are they okay?
I mean, it's in the script. It's probably just in the script, but like it really irks me. It's totally random thing. It's like totally small. It honestly does not matter on a large grand scheme thing, but it takes me out of the moment. It doesn't feel like someone's talking to me about a game. It feels like someone's trying to sell me a game, which is what they're doing. But I don't want to feel like I'm being marketed to. You go buy the Super Smash Brothers Ultimate game. No, shut the fuck up. It's Smash Ultimate, okay? That's what we call it.
It's really weird and really jarring to listen to, especially because listening to that podcast, they're trying to sell me on the game. Motherfucker, I'm listening to the Nintendo Power podcast. I know what Tears of the Kingdom is. No one is happening upon this podcast that doesn't know what The Legend of Zelda is.
Yes.
So it's really weird. But I guess it's sad to see this go. I mean, the videos, the podcasts on YouTube, they did get decent views. I mean, people obviously listen to them. And like I said, they have had cool guests. And it is cool to get some insight from Treehouse members and just hear them more. So we're losing that. Maybe Nintendo will replace this in the future with something else. I kind of doubt it.
Eventually, there will be another Nintendo run podcast.
You think so?
At some point in the future, absolutely. I think these sort of things come and go, and it's going to be 3 or 4 years from now, I'm like, wow, people, you've really been missing this, and we've got some new personalities, and the Switch 3 is like on the horizon. You know,
Switch
I think
3.
the Switch 3 is coming out really soon after
Yeah,
Switch 2.
2028. It's coming out.
But there will be another Nintendo Run podcast. This is not the end of that.
It is. It makes me wonder if this is. I don't know. I can't imagine this is actually part of some greater plan. This is probably just coincidental. But a year ago, Kit and Krista obviously ended Nintendo Minute, and that was more due to their they were moving like their offices or something, and they didn't want to move, so they just ended it. But I do wonder if maybe this is a greater push to like kind of reset the board, and then start up like new things. Like I love the PlayStation blog. I love that Sony has that. If Nintendo could do something like that, maybe just a new, I don't know, just something more focused, in a way to communicate with the audience and the community.
Yeah. Funny thing about Kit and Krista, I knew of them. But I didn't start like following them or caring about their opinions until they left. And now they have the Kit and Krista channel, which I watch occasionally, but I follow them both on Twitter, where now they're very active and they talk about other games.
It is cool.
Their opinions on games. Like they feel like people now.
Yeah, it is cool.
And of course they had like a distinct edge to them, and they were like more personable than basically anyone else in that space. But now that they've like sort of been unshackled from Nintendo, I feel that they're putting out better content that I care about more. They did a ranking Nintendo Switch games with Rogers Base, and that was a really fun video because they're like arguing about like which Nintendo games are better, and they could not do that in the context of they are Nintendo employees.
Yeah, they're cool. I haven't listened to their podcast in a while. I've met them twice at PAX.
Really?
They're cool people. They're cool people. Yeah, there's a couple pictures of me out there with them floating around. It was really cool. I think it was PAX 2019. This is when they still worked at Nintendo. I was just I think I went to like the Game Explain panel or something. God forbid. Cool. I mean, it was cool. It was cool.
Not anymore. I mean, I'd go to the Good Vibes Gaming panel now.
No, but I was like leaving the hotel that it was in, and I was just crossing the street, and I was looking across the street, and I was like, "Is that Kit and Krista?" Because I never really watched Nintendo Minute that much, but they just happened to be crossing towards me, and I was like, "Hey, can I get a picture?" And yeah, they're cool people. They're cool to talk to.
Cool.
Yeah.
The final thing about this going down
it's going
is,
away.
Rest in peace, Nintendo Power Podcast. But hey, Nintendo fans, if you're looking for a Nintendo-centric
exactly,
podcast,
that's why I said it's kind of funny that it's happening right now. I did one final thing I'll say about it. I liked what Chris Slate said at the start of the episode. I listened to like the first 5 minutes. He was like likening it to Nintendo Power. How the first issue of Nintendo Power was obviously Mario. Was it Mario 2? Or maybe Mario 1? I can't remember on the cover.
Yeah, there's the Mario 2 cover where it's like clay.
Yeah, is that Mario 2?
Yeah, I believe so.
And then the final issue of Nintendo Power was New Super Mario Bros. U, and they recreated that cover. So I guess coincidentally, the first episode of the Nintendo Power podcast was about Breath of the Wild, and now this is ending with Tears of the Kingdom. So he was like kind of comparing it to that. I thought that was nice, kind of a nice way to end it, I guess.
Sure.
So no more Nintendo Power podcast. If you listen to that, let us know. I'm curious if anybody actually listened to that. All right, this next one kind of surprised me. I doubt we have much to say on it, but it is interesting. Pac-Man 99 is ending its online service on October 8th of 2023. So I don't know anybody that plays this. I see people tweet about...
I played it.
Right.
For like 3 hours or whatever.
Same. I see people tweet about Tetris 99 all the time. They're always adding these new backgrounds. Of course, there was also Super Mario Bros. 35, which got shut down, 3 months after it came out. For some reason, Nintendo.
Well, it got shut down on the notorious day.
The infamous day where they murdered Mario, public execution.
Yeah.
But yeah, how do you feel about the shutting down? It's a little surprising, especially because I don't know if you need to log into the internet to even just play on I don't know if there's a local mode, because they did sell DLC for this. There was you could spend money on this.
And a physical version of it as well.
No, that's Tetris. There's no Pac-Man 99 physical.
Oh, okay.
Tetris also had
DLC. Would know that.
I do have it. I have Tetris 99 physically.
Yeah. You're right. That's what I think of. I think this is sad because I mean Mario 35 is a game that I didn't get super into. That one was, I think, a little weird. It was cool as an experiment, especially sort of continuing on what Tetris 99 did, and especially as a sort of celebratory game. But it's also a celebratory game that just doesn't exist anymore. And when they did Pac-Man 99, I'm like, okay, they're still who makes these? Arika, I think.
Arika, yeah.
As a developer, I was like, oh, they've got their thing. They're really expanding this. I think that the battle royale format, in my mind, works a lot better for something that is arcade focused rather than the platforming levels of Super Mario Bros. I'm like, awesome. And the game was fine, unremarkable. I honestly don't really remember anything about it. I actually think it was a little bit confusing, the way you get different power ups and whatever. But the fact that they just shut these down, is just like, oh, come on, man. Like, this is just a game that no one will ever be able to access anymore. I mean, I still have the Mario 35 icon
Me
on
too.
my
Me
Switch.
too.
I am not deleting that ever.
It's important.
But yeah, I mean, I don't care about this game, but I care about video game preservation.
I hope you can at least play it locally with whatever DLC map pack you bought.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can. I know Mario 35, you had to like log in to even access it. I'm not sure.
Mario 35 is just like
it's unplayable.
Now.
Yeah, if you load it up, it just says the service has ended. You cannot even look at the menu.
Yeah,
which is
and
sad.
I'm actually like I don't know what it's like to like click on it, open it, because every time I think about them, I'm like, I wonder what was happening. Like, what happens if I just like click on it and deletes itself? So I'm wary of it. I'm like, I don't want to risk.
I think I actually re-downloaded it after it was shut down. Like, I think it's like in your eShop software, so you can still re-download it. But yeah, it's sad to see, especially because this came out in 2021, I think, so it hasn't even been out that long. This was the last one they released. So I'm hopeful.
What's done since then? Is that the last thing?
I don't think they've released anything. Obviously, they're still uploading Tetris 99.
Yes,
hopefully, I hope they release something else. I think this is a cool format. I've seen a lot of people say like F-Zero 99. Maybe get them on some sort of Zelda game. Not necessarily Zelda 99. I don't know if that makes sense, but something. These little freebies that are included with Nintendo Switch Online are cool. And
they're one of the best parts of that service.
They're a really cool, just like, oh shit moment during a direct. It's like, oh, this is free right now. I can go play this right now. I like that.
Oh, so they also developed Chocobo GP, the like remake that came to Switch.
Okay, that had a lot of microtransactions in it that people don't like. I remember
in 2022, and apparently they did update patches for Tekken 7, and now they're working on Tekken 8.
Does Bandai Namco own them? I think they might. I think that might be like a Bandai Namco joint, because Pac-Man's also Bandai Namco. I can believe that. Or at least they work closely with them anyway.
No, yeah, they just worked with them on Pac-Man 99, and I guess now with
Pac-Man 99 really impressed them enough to make them work on Tekken 8.
Interesting. Yeah. Huh. Well, rest in peace, Pac-Man 99.
Rest in peace. Maybe I'll play it.
Yeah, it's interesting that we haven't gotten another one. Now, looking at their like publishing, their sets of games that they're published. They also did Dr. Luigi and Dr. Mario Miracle Cure, which is interesting.
Okay. They're probably working. Oh, they're working on Dr. Mario right now, baby. Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, I will freak the fuck out if we get a new Dr. Mario game announced in a direct. I will lose my goddamn mind.
That seems like a
huge
likely
Dr. Mario
thing, right?
fan.
Like it's like maybe not like a physical game, but like maybe like a free one or an eShop game. Yeah.
Hey, I stand by. Dr. Mario World was fucking awesome. That game was great. I got so addicted to that game. All the various doctors that you could unlock. The vertical format works really well for it. There's different kinds of pellets that like sort of change the way that you're approaching it, and like little powers.
You were the only player. You were the only person that played that game, Tucker.
It was awesome. And it's gone. The game's gone. It's dead.
One of the few games they actually shut down. Well, that and Dragon lost, I guess. Amitomo. Okay, that's not a lie, I guess. Anyway, moving on from Pac-Man. Rest in peace, Pac-Man. Maybe I'll play it before it goes down. A new patch was announced for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This is releasing next week, between May 22nd and May 26th. Weird. I guess they just said next week. I don't know.
Did we just have
we did.
One of these?
We were talking about a patch not too long ago.
Deja vu.
Right. But this one, I don't think this is anything crazy. It's just fixing some bug with the competitions mode in the game, like the ranked play. But I just wanted to mention it because we're into the podcast. We're going to cover it. But also, where is Pokemon Home? They said spring. They said Pokemon Home update would come out in spring. And listen, I get it. It is still spring. Most people would not consider June spring, even though officially it is until June 20th. June 20th is when summer starts. But come on, Pokemon Company. Come on. Get a roll on.
And also, come on. You kind of said that you were going to like actually like fix the game. And where's that?
I wonder. I bet this is what's going to happen, Tucker. Okay. I'm still in disbelief that there's no Pokemon spinoff this year, to be completely honest with you. I'm not expecting it, but it's just weird. So I'm going to be surprised if we get like a Pokemon Presents, honestly, maybe this month or next month.
And that's when they do usually do one around the E3 season. Yeah.
So maybe like late
like a week or before or after. Or no, it's usually a week before the direct happens.
Yeah. In this time frame either way. So I wouldn't be surprised maybe we get a Pokemon Presents. They announce more mobile stuff, maybe Pokemon Home support there. Maybe they showed the DLC for the first time because we still haven't seen the DLC for Sword and Shield, that kind of thing. Or, sorry, Scarlet and Violet.
No, it's true.
So it's got to be happening soon.
Otherwise, the mobile section of those fucking Pokemon Presents are always so funny, and they're like, more
Pokemon Masters always gets me. Pokemon Masters always gets me because it like looks hype, and it's like, oh, it's just a fucking mobile game.
Yeah. And new update for Pokemon Cafe Remix.
Ooh.
Can't believe they changed
Pokemon
the name.
Unite.
That's a crazy game.
Have you played Pokemon Unite, the MOBA?
No, I never tried it.
I played it when it came out. It was pretty fun. I don't play MOBAs.
Yeah, I heard it was a good game except for microtransactions.
They add a new character every week. I don't understand.
Really?
Yeah, dude, literally like every week I see Sarah be tweet like there's a new character being added. And I get that the characters aren't that like revolutionary. It's pretty like cut and paste movesets, but it reminds me of Genshin Impact when I first played that game and they're like, "Oh, we're adding characters weekly." I was like, "Really?" It's a lot. It's a lot of characters in that game.
There are currently 52 playable Pokemon in this game, as well as 3 upcoming Pokemon.
They just announced some more evolutions, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I like when they choose really fucking weird ones.
Yeah,
that's my favorite. Crustle. Crustle's a playable character in a
Crustle
video
was my
game.
main.
That's awesome.
I main Crustle, baby.
I love Crustle.
Crustle's great. All right. This one I think we might have mentioned last week, but the Mario movie has seen a digital release.
Playable?
Comfey is?
Yeah, I'm learning about this game as I go through. This is fucking weird. All right. Continue.
Yeah. So I think we talked about this last week. The Mario movie has seen a surprise digital release in the US. It's already out right now if you're watching this. I think it's $30 to own, maybe $20 to rent. Yeah, it's out. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to fork up $20 to rent it. Probably not. I think I'll probably get the 4K when that comes out just to own it, Nintendo fan. And I do want to rewatch it.
And that'll be a while.
Well, I think that's what we covered. The release date was like early July, but then it got delayed or something.
Oh, so, that's right.
Probably August or September for that. The movie's still in theaters, and we actually aren't talking about the movie again later in this podcast, I don't think. It is, I think, the 4th highest grossing animated movie of all time now.
Yeah, I think
it's definitely up there. So
yeah, but it's like it's probably not going to move
a lot. Yeah,
but naturally so. I mean, the movie's been out.
It's been out for
like 6 weeks at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a healthy run. Obviously it's one of the highest grossing movies of all time. Very healthy run, especially for the current season where some movies are lucky to get 3 weeks or a month in theaters.
Yeah, I watched Sisu yesterday. Is that how you say that?
Sisu? Oh, yeah, Sisu.
Is that movie even in theater? I thought it came out.
It did. I saw it in theaters.
I didn't see it in theaters though. Like it's like that shit came out 2 days ago and it's already available to rent. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
A little weird.
Didn't make any money.
No, it was fine. I liked it. It was okay.
It's an interesting movie.
It was weird. I love John Wick. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as John Wick, but it was fun. It was a fun movie. It was a fun movie.
John Wick 4. Jesus, that's a fucking.
That's a movie.
God damn. That's a great fucking movie.
That movie. I'm gonna watch that again. Ooh.
Holy shit.
Let's do a movie podcast, sucker. Where it's just me with my.
Let me tell you about a YouTube channel to subscribe to.
All right, but speaking of Nintendo and movies, Eiji Aonuma has done an interview with Polygon, and he said he is interested in a movie. So they asked him if they're on board or if they're interested in a movie. Aonuma said, "I have to say I am interested for sure, but it's not just me being interested in something that makes it happen, unfortunately." And then Hidemaru Fujibayashi, the director of Tears of the Kingdom, which I do want to say something about him real quick, he said maybe the voice of the fans is what's important here. So both of these, obviously very important figures of the Legend of Zelda franchise, want a movie to happen. We're getting a fucking Zelda movie.
Yeah. What's interesting about this is the interest of Aonuma and Fujibayashi, I think, indicates that they would be probably involved in it. And because of the popularity, the immense popularity
of
Breath of the Wild and now Tears of the Kingdom, we'll certainly get to. That's probably one of the major news stories.
It's the main news story, yeah.
Is that I'm now thinking that they might do a movie based more in that world, rather than trying to recapture original Zelda energy. Because, frankly, I think with, like, the combined totals of these two games, I mean, that's, like, the combined total of the sales of every other Zelda game ever. Or like, scarily close, at least.
Yeah.
So I think that because Zelda, until the Switch era, was never as popular as Mario, and now is matching Mario in terms of sales
surpassing
momentum. Yes, exactly.
Except for Mario Kart, it's surpassing it, yeah.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild sold more than Odyssey.
Bro, it's surpassing Pokemon.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
I think that they would want to capitalize on this era of its popularity, and because this is what most people are familiar with, and it's a huge refresh point for the franchise, and giving it a legacy and popularity and sales breadth that is always deserved. But even though it's one of the most popular video game franchises of all time, the sales don't necessarily reflect that, which is very interesting. And we'll talk about that when we get to the sales.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because I think maybe the first episode of the podcast or second episode, we had a question about whether or not we think Tears of the Kingdom is Aonuma's magnum opus. Like, this is his final thing. Like, he can't do better than this. He's done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't don't know actually anymore. With how well this game did, I could see him doing another one. But also, I wouldn't be because he's not super old. I think he's like in his 50s.
No, I mean, he's
60s.
got gray hair, but also like
Japanese
all these
people,
guys get gray hair real
exactly.
quick because they're grinding themselves to the bone making these goddamn
14-hour days. But
poor Sakurai, you know,
the man's like 70 years old. He looks like he's 20. No, not actually. But what I was gonna say is, I wonder if he would actually follow in Miyamoto's footsteps and actually direct the movie. I don't know if he has any interest in film like that.
Miyamoto didn't direct it. He was an executive producer.
Sorry, my bad. Right.
Yeah.
Correction.
But
obviously
that's also the exact same role that he has on Tears of the Kingdom,
right?
And that he has had on most of the Zelda games that he's worked on. He's actually only a director on a couple of earlier Zelda games.
Ocarina of Time, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know. I was looking at the directors of Zelda games because what's interesting is when I went to Tears of the Kingdom and because I heard about Fujibayashi being interviewed alongside Aonuma, and I'm like, oh, I guess that's right. Aonuma didn't direct this game, but he's the only creative voice involved with this era of Zelda that Nintendo puts any focus on. And so I did a little bit of retroactive research looking at which people have directed which Zelda games, and obviously Miyamoto involved with the oldest Zelda games, I believe just Zelda 1 and 2, or in a directorial capacity. And then Aonuma sort of takes over and does a couple of the other bigger ones that are from a little bit later. But then it's a couple of different people who, even though I'm a very big Nintendo fan, I've never heard of these guys because Nintendo just doesn't really talk about their directors very much. And that's a crying shame. It took me until this week to know the director of one of my favorite games of all time. Like the creative vision behind fucking Breath of the Wild. I didn't know his name. And now he's on Tears of the Kingdom. Like he's the one that's doing this. I mean, I think he's producing a very important role, but I feel like, come on, Nintendo. I mean, I don't know if this man doesn't really want to be in the spotlight or anything, but I want him to get more props. So go look up Hidemaru
Fujibayashi. Yes.
Yeah, go look him up, learn about him, know his name. He made these goddamn great games. Don't just think it's Aonuma. There's someone else heavily involved.
That's more involved. That's what I was gonna say. I don't know if you tweeted it or if you were talking about it in your backlog banter server. A similar story with Koizumi before that Switch 2017 presentation. No one knew who Koizumi was, but he made Galaxy. And then he produced Odyssey.
Yeah.
I assume he directed Galaxy 2, I would imagine. Maybe not, but
yeah.
Something I was thinking, I didn't have time to prep it for this week because we're recording early, Tucker. Is I think it'd be really cool. I definitely want to get like an opening segment going for this podcast.
Sure.
So I was thinking if we could maybe do something like this, where we're like we shine a spotlight on Nintendo directors and Nintendo like people that we don't really hear about. Like get a little history lesson going on in each episode. Because you're right, Fujibayashi's a name I've heard a ton and like I've seen in like the developer interviews and all that, but you don't really know who he is. I can't put a face of that name. Like you said, maybe he doesn't want to be out there, and that's fine. But I think that'd be something cool we could do, maybe like a little history lesson every week. And eventually we'd run out, of course. But even just like Monolith Soft people, and even people that we know about, we could do like a little history lesson on. Maybe that could be
Fujibayashi directed Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, Four Swords, Minish Cap, Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. So this guy's been around.
Well, he made the best 2D Zelda
time.
with Minish Cap, so.
Actually, I think that honor still goes to Link Between Worlds for me.
You think so? They're close for me. They're very close.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important to like know who's making these games. And,
exactly.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention Fujibayashi because shout out this dude.
Shout out.
Going places. There's also like the Splatoon Research Lab dude. I can't remember his name.
What a great guy.
Exactly. I'm saying.
Where is he?
Nintendo
Why was
has
he not
so
in
many.
Splatoon 3?
Nintendo has so many cool people behind the scenes, and like they show glimpses of them, but we don't really get to know them. So. Let us know in the comments below. Would you like to see the little history lesson segment?
Yeah.
As for the Zelda movie, I will say, definitely happening. They might wait a little bit though. I feel like maybe they'll wait because you're right. To your earlier point, maybe they will try to make it more like this current era of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And I was trying to figure out while you're saying that, like what that could be. I can already picture it now. Throughout the movie, Link's like finding memories. It's a non-linear movie. They make a new type of movie.
Well. Yeah, I don't know. I just mean that I don't think that it would be trying to do.
It's not going to look like Ocarina of Time. When people think of Zelda movie, they think of Ocarina of Time. It's going to be
they would
like
want
young Link traveling through. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just think that they would do something more inspired by the world of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
maybe not the same art style, but similar in terms of the sort of grassy plains of Hyrule, more similar design of Hyrule, focus on the designs of the moblins and the bokoblins as like the main enemies that he's fighting, as
Right.
opposed to like the more classic designs of these
Right,
characters.
because when people think of Zelda movie, they think of Witcher, the Witcher Netflix show. They think of like a fantasy, like Game of Thrones style, like Twilight Princess, Ocarina.
Yeah.
They're not thinking of like a lighthearted kind of. I mean, a lot of people have said Studio Ghibli would make a great like, studio for an animated Zelda movie. Something like that. Very light, bright movie. Not like a dark medieval fantasy. I don't think it'll be like that. Either way, Zelda movie is going to be very fun when we see it in 10 years. It is going to happen, 100%. Speaking of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, which we'll be talking about throughout this entire podcast, I just wanted to mention this really quick. Yeah, of course. This is going to be the podcast until we get a direct. I wanted to mention this. There's a speedrunner I love. His name is, I think, Gymnast86. I'm subscribed to this guy. Absolute legend of the Zelda speedrunning community. He does these speedruns where he starts with, I think he starts with Majora's Mask for some reason, but then he'll go through Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild. He speedruns them all at once.
That's so
in like a
funny.
7-hour stretch. It's only like 7 hours.
That's so funny.
But this guy's a legend basically.
I've never been that committed to anything in my entire life.
Me neither. But he had a speedrun up for Tears of the Kingdom the night it came out. I don't know if he must have got an early copy or something.
Oh, absolutely.
The speedrun's already under 90 minutes.
Yes.
I just wanted to shout that out because I was very curious because obviously I was playing it early. I was very curious to see how they would handle it. No spoilers.
They've found ways. Life finds a way.
Right. From what I saw of it, there aren't really any glitches. You just have to play it really good and really fast. You can't take damage, because I won't spoil the ending of the game, but if you've beaten the game or if you know what the ending of the game is, From what it's definitely harder than Breath of the Wild.
This game? Oh, yeah, I've done a lot in this game.
Yeah, but I was specifically referring to, like, the ending. It's definitely, yeah, no, exactly.
But also, that was notoriously easy, so it's not that hard to make a more difficult final boss than fucking big-ass Calamity Ganon that you shoot with light arrows 3 times. Like, what the hell's up with that?
Yeah. So, wanted to shout out. Go check out, if you've beaten the game, if you don't care about spoilers or whatever, go look up Tears of the Kingdom speedrun. Go to my boy Gymnast86. Really cool stuff.
I will be watching that as soon as I beat the game.
Yeah. He's been uploading like a new record. I mean, it's always that race when a new like big like Mario game or Zelda game comes out. People are just going crazy. Every new second they shave off is a big deal. So I'll be curious to see where the record actually lands in like a year. And then eventually they'll have to find some glitches to warp off the great sky island.
And glitches will be found. The only elements of speedrunning for this game that I have been privy to at all is what things they've removed, because people thought that because it has the same engine and button layout and movement and
they fixed
combat,
the BLSS glitch or whatever.
exactly, and also you don't have they don't have the same runes anymore. You don't have magnesis and stasis and the bombs to like mess around with. But the game's been out for a week, but also like 2.5 weeks, whatever. That's not enough time to discover these glitches that were discovered 4 months, 5 months, a year into the life of Breath of the Wild. So once Tears of the Kingdom has been out for that amount of time, there will be equivalent glitches. They won't be the same ones as were in Breath of the Wild, but they might even be crazier. I mean, I watched a guy I watched Small Ant I beat 100% in Tears of the Kingdom. No, not Tears of the Kingdom. 100% in Breath of the Wild in under 24 hours. And it's like clipped down to an hour and a half, so it's like more manageable. And I never watched a Breath of the Wild speedrun all the way through.
It's
and
crazy,
I'm like,
dude.
You can hold the bomb and
I was gonna say I've done that glitch because I replayed Breath of the Wild last month and I was doing that glitch left and right because it's actually really easy. That's the funniest part. It's an easy glitch. It just completely breaks the game.
He called them boomy zoomies.
Boomy zoomies. I think the official term is BLSS.
BLSS is
bomb, landslide. I don't know.
Shield.
Something shield is in there somewhere. But Tucker, this next thing, I thought this was. I'm just throwing this in here because I think very low class. Sure. I think this is disrespectful, and I don't like this.
It sounds like our podcast.
Right.
Low class, disrespectful.
Yeah, that's us.
I don't really like it.
The company dbrand, I never heard of this company until I think around the time the Switch came out. They basically do decals and skins for your consoles. They released a carbon copy of the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom OLED, like as a skin, but they changed it up a little bit. Instead of being circles, it's like an octagon for like on the pattern and all that. And that's fine. I have no issue with them copying the design.
Yeah.
But in like the Hylian text or whatever, people translated it. It says "Go fuck yourself, lawyers." Listen. I have no issue with them stealing Nintendo's design. That's sure. I mean, you go to AliExpress, you could have bought these Joy-Con. Look, I don't know if you saw Beat 'em Up's video. He created the Switch like a month before it even came out or before it was announced.
Yeah.
Because of AliExpress. I have no issue with that. But this is low class, like Wendy's Twitter account energy. I don't like it.
That's a great pull.
This is a surefire way to make sure I never spend money on your product. Listen, you can be edgy, you can be funny. I just think I don't like this. I don't like this energy that they're giving out here. Go fuck yourself, lawyers. Go fuck yourself, dbrand. Come on, I don't like it. I just want to throw that in there. All right, this is that other one that probably don't have much to say on. Hogwarts Legacy on Switch, which I'm very curious just to see how it runs. The only. I don't care about this game. I don't care about Harry Potter. I just want to see how it runs. It's been delayed to November 14th.
Give our boys a Digital Foundry that game and let them break it apart.
Right. Yeah, delayed. I think it was supposed to come out in July. It's been delayed to November 14th. They gave it a concrete date, which is promising, I guess. I'm still not convinced.
Doesn't really mean anything anymore, though. I mean, concrete dates are given to shit all the time. It gets delayed.
Do you think this game is going to release on Switch? I'm not convinced. They still haven't shown a single screenshot. They still have not shown a single second of gameplay.
I have no idea.
I could see them changing it to a cloud version, maybe.
I think it will because this game is so popular that even if the game is bad on Switch, they'll swindle people into buying it and get another 5-7 million sales on the game. And because the Switch has the largest install base of any current or last gen console. So I think that Warner and Portkey Games and everyone involved with this are scummy enough to put out a borked version of this. But also, we have not seen the game. There are very impressive ports on Switch.
It could be.
It is possible. It could be
miracle.
Apparently, it's a lot better on last gen hardware than people were expecting. So
I heard that.
That's good.
Yeah.
But so it's either. Oh, actually, this is pretty good. Yeah, it's a great thing that's like available to more people. I have not played the game myself. I have no connection to it, so whatever. But it's also possible that they delayed it because it doesn't work too well. But I think regardless it'll release, and it's either good, more people have access to the game, or unfortunately people have access to this game and they're gonna get more sales to it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see because we saw I think last week Midnight Suns got canceled on Switch, so these third party AAA ports are getting less and less frequent on Switch.
They were less and less. They were basically non-existent for the last few years.
Yeah, exactly. Like back in 2017, 2018, even 2019 with Witcher 3, there was like some stuff in the directs. But then it's just gotten
I'd be interested to make like a list of current gen AAA ports.
Yeah, like Doom Eternal. I guess Doom isn't current anymore. Are we counting PS4 as current?
Well, it was though. It was a year later.
Sure, at the time.
Yeah, and also it came out like relatively close to the launch of the Switch. So yeah, Wolfenstein 2.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to compile. A lot of
Bethesda stuff. Bethesda definitely was the biggest supporter, I would say, of like the AAA third party.
Oh yeah, they did. The first game Bethesda put out was Fallout Shelter. I remember being very excited for that. And then they did Elder Scrolls Blades.
Oh yeah.
On the Switch.
Did that game do well? I don't. I remember
they were making like a big.
They're making like a big deal out of that for like 3 E3s in a row, and then it just never. Fallout Shelter was big though. Fallout Shelter was popular. I remember that.
Oh, I played Fallout Shelter. I played it on my phone. It was great.
Yeah.
I had a good time with that.
Speaking of bad third-party games from bad companies, the craziest segue ever. So Tucker, let me just ask you this: have you played Overwatch?
I'm a fucking huge Overwatch.
Oh, are you really?
Overwatch is my favorite game of all time.
Perfect then. I loved Overwatch in 2016, 2017, and 2018. Even in 2019 when it came to Switch. I loved Overwatch. Yeah. I played it like I would say I took a break in there somewhere, but then when it came out on Switch, I came back when I think Sigma got added. I love Sigma.
That sounds close, yeah.
But ever since then I've kind of fallen off. My roommate loves this game. And
still?
No. No, he does not still love it. My girlfriend's dad loved this game. Does not love it anymore. So last year when Overwatch 2 came out, let me back up. In 2019, they announced Overwatch 2. And everybody was like, that doesn't really make sense for this kind of game.
Yeah.
But they kind of announced it with the promise of a big PvE storyline because the world and characters of Overwatch are so interesting.
It's one of the best of all time.
I agree. They haven't fucking done anything with it, though.
No.
So
that's also kind of not true, though, because, here's the thing. Overwatch. I played so much of that goddamn game. It was certainly the most hours I've ever put into a multiplayer game. I'm not a very competitive person. I'm not a very big
I probably put 1,000 hours into Overwatch, yeah.
But I'm somewhere close to that, which is scary to think about. And I have somewhere, I don't think I ever uploaded it, but I have a recording of my live reaction to not only Overwatch 2 being revealed, but the fucking cinematic, the Overwatch 2 cinematic, where like Winston almost fucking die, or like May almost dies, and Genji and Mercy and Brigitte and Reinhardt will show. I'm like fucking tears streaming down my face watching this, and I'm like, Overwatch 2 is going to be one of the best games ever played because I love Overwatch. I'd sort of fallen off of it, not for any real fault, but because I didn't have my PC at college. And I was so ready to take a break and come back in, not only when they were giving these characters new designs and introducing new maps and new heroes, and in my mind, refreshing the rate that they were putting out content and putting out the fucking cinematics, which they've only done one of since that game released, and giving it a story mode. And they had that trailer where they were like fighting through Rio, and Tracer and Lucio were like talking to one another, and then there was all these moves you could unlock where May's cryo freeze like spreads out, and Reinhardt does this like downward spike that shatters everything. I'm like, this is gonna be the fucking greatest game I ever played. And then Overwatch 2 comes out. I played a little
they
bit.
Make it 5v5,
which doesn't
mistake.
really impact me too much. I thought it was whatever,
like
but it didn't grab me. But they also have done quite a bit with that game, especially compared to the like 2 or 3 years where basically nothing was happening with Overwatch.
That's the issue, though. There was nothing for 3 years in Overwatch 1 because of the promise of Overwatch 2.
Yes.
And yes, they have been updating Overwatch 2 consistently enough. There's it's every season. So there's a character every season. So they've added a lot. But the issue, Tucker, and this is something that even in 2016 I wanted more of, was the PvE stuff. Yes. And I knew something was weird when Overwatch 2 launched.
Remember that tech demo they showed where they were like, oh, the robots are going to bounce off one another. You got this like interesting like physics engine and stuff. It's really going to make it dynamic.
Yeah. I was really excited, but I knew something was wrong when Overwatch 2 launched free-to-play last year without the PvE. Because in my mind, the entire reason they were putting a 2 on this title was because they were adding a PvE mode. And we had seen PvE events like Junkenstein's Revenge, and there's like the Archives events, and they did these events. Yeah. And those were awesome. Those were some of my favorite times playing Overwatch with my buddies. Yeah. They fucking canceled that yesterday. Now, to be fair,
they canceled some aspect.
They're still going to continue like they have been releasing end-season like Junkenstein style things, but maybe you can correct me. Maybe you've seen more about this. I haven't looked too deeply into it, but I have a friend who's a huge Overwatch fan who still plays it, and he was saying basically the idea of like having these skill trees for your characters and unlocking moves, that's gone. And that was the most exciting aspect.
Yeah.
Which I just think it's
customizing your Overwatch hero.
I just think it's really, I don't know, was that PvE stuff ever supposed to be free to play, or was that going to be paid? I think that was going to be paid, right? And in fact, I'm pretty sure they already charged for it. I think they already charged for that when Overwatch 2 came out with like the Founders Pack. You were supposed to get it with the Founders Pack.
I don't remember the Founders Pack. I didn't pay for it because I already owned the fucking game.
Right. So people can correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but I just think it's really scummy. First of all, they fucked themselves over. I think Overwatch has no chance now. The game was already dying.
Yes.
Overwatch 2 certainly steered a lot of people away, going 5v5.
One of the biggest bag fumbles of all time.
The queue times got atrocious because you had to like roll queue and all that. And now today they announced they're canceling this one like last saving grace for me personally to go back to this game. And
I was planning to go back to it.
Me too.
When they had a fucking campaign with a group of characters that I adore in a world that I could not wait to see the story continued on. The problem with Overwatch, I loved those cinematics. I loved the world they established, all these character dynamics and the histories they had together. But that was a static story. There was never fucking progress made in that story. Like you can linearly line up like 4 maybe of the cinematics, but it still also just like basically stops when Winston's like, heroes, we need to come back. But then like May heard the call and then she showed up for the Overwatch 2 reveal cinematic, but that's as far as we've gotten. Nothing else has happened. The new Overwatch had not been reestablished yet. There was no forward momentum. There's no future that they were building to. And that's what the story mode was supposed to be through gameplay, but also I thought that they were going to be doing more cinematics. Lots of characters that never got cinematics. I mean, I guess there was like the Echo one where not McCree, but Cole Cassidy now saves Echo and we get Ash and all this. That was supposed to be like the refresh point. But now
I would imagine if they had to have had a lot of these cinematics done. I would imagine we'll still get them in some capacity, hopefully.
They said that they were going to do one per season starting now.
Okay. I mean, that's
I
good.
saw there was something. Oh wait, I forgot they did a Junker Queen one. I forgot about that.
Yes, they did. That was,
and then they did a Kiriko one as well.
Yeah. So they have been doing them, but I don't know.
There was gonna be a Sojourn one. I saw like a single screenshot of a Sojourn cinematic that has not released yet.
Okay. It's just you and I both love this game, and it's Prime. Yeah. You seem to you're definitely more positive on it than I am now, but it's just
I'm neutral.
Sure. This has to be one of the biggest fumbles of any bag. This is like, I would argue like something like Battlefield 2042 never really had much of a chance to begin with, but that was also a big fumble. Overwatch was a phenomenon when it came out, and now it's just dead. The people that play Overwatch,
2016,
right? The people loved it. Everybody loved Overwatch, and now no one plays it. Even the hardcore fans are dropping off. So Blizzard. Well, also Jeff Kaplan left, I think, last year.
That's so sad. I love Jeff Kaplan, man.
Did he leave Blizzard entirely, or does he just leave like the Overwatch team?
No, he left. I think he left Blizzard.
Okay,
yeah. So
hopefully he does something cool. But I love multiplayer shooters, as we'll get into when we get to what I'm playing. Like, this is my favorite thing. playing shooters with friends. I love it.
Yeah.
I am starving. I'm starving, Tucker. Call of Duty, which we'll talk about, has been so bad for like 5 years now, and I just want something. I tried playing the Xdefiant beta. It wasn't it, Chief. It just wasn't. Oh. So I just need something.
Yeah.
And honestly, hopefully Overwatch 2 dying is the kick in the butt for developers to start something. You know, even I don't know if you've heard of this. Splitgate came out in 2021. It was the Halo kind of clone, but with portals.
Oh yeah,
that game was
you like
fucking
make clones of
awesome.
yourself and like.
No, you don't make clones. But it's literally just Halo with portals from portals.
Okay, well, I'm thinking something else.
It was awesome.
I don't know.
But that game
There's
died
so
very
many
quickly.
goddamn shooters, man.
I know, and none of them stick. None of them stick.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I highly recommend. I just found this actually the other day. I was looking for sort of like background gaming content to listen to while I was playing Tears of the Kingdom. I found a YouTube series called Death the Game, in which this guy breaks down games that have moved past their prime and for the most part have been canceled.
Good. Yeah,
and they're great videos. It goes through the development history, why the game failed at launch, its history of like going downhill, like the Steam player count fucking dropping to the bottom.
What's the name?
And Death of a Game. Pretty simple. But I watched the fucking Battleborn one. I watched the Anthem one. I watched the Battlefield 2042 one. He has an Overwatch one that I have not watched yet. But it's just so interesting to see these games that have just like disappeared. It's so weird, man.
Babylon's
It's so weird. And what was the Cliff Blazinski
Lawbreakers?
Lawbreakers.
He recently said he's like thinking about bringing that back or something.
That's not gonna fucking happen. Sorry,
he said something about like Lawbreakers. Now he wants to like try it again or something.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't released a game since then, I don't believe. But Overwatch 2, get it together.
Jesus
Christ. Please release a good video game for me to play. Good shooter. I'm starving. This is a small one, but once again for collectors like me. Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster. Of course, this is the Monolith Soft developed GameCube games. Bandai Namco is bringing them back in a collection for Switch, which I'm very, very excited for because I never played these games, and Monolith Soft is easily my favorite developer now, so very excited to check these out. In the UK, the physical release is going to be exclusive to Game. This is we're both Game is like GameStop and UK.
Their store's just called Game?
It's just called, you didn't know that? Yeah, it's just called Game.
No, I never heard of that. That's fucking funny, though.
Yeah, it's just called Game. It's like all caps Game. But
Game!
I do wonder what this means for America. Obviously, we're both in America, Tucker. Yeah. Because I don't think I've seen pre-orders go up for this anywhere. And I'm getting a little nervous. I'm a physical collector. If I can't buy this, I already know. I don't like to try to... I can't say I don't like to do this because I absolutely do. I don't sell games for like a profit or whatever. I like to predict when a game's going to be expensive. I can already tell you right now, if this game is exclusive to GameStop or like Amazon or something in the US, it's a Monolith Soft JRPG.
Yeah. Ooh.
Get it while it's retail. I will just say that. I would be shocked, unless they print 1 million copies and it just goes on sale, but I'm very curious to see how they release this.
They're not going to print 1 million copies of this game?
No, of course. Well, exactly. Exactly.
No way.
To my point.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious.
Game.
Yeah, I'll be curious
for multiple reasons.
How they release this in the West, because it's supposed to come out this summer. I think August actually.
Okay.
So I'm excited for that. That's one of my most anticipated games of the year.
Cool.
I'm really excited for that.
Cool.
All right, final small news story, which I alluded to earlier. When you hear this, you'll know about this. Mortal Kombat 1 probably is likely.
There's someone who knew shit that's like this was called. I don't know.
Right. Well, we talked about it last week. There was like the clock GIF that Ed Boon tweeted.
Yes. The clock's
and
back,
it skipped from 11 to 1. So people were saying it's gonna be called Mortal Kombat 1. And someone kind of reported it. I think it was Jess Corden from Windows Central. He made a report saying that it was gonna be called Mortal Kombat 1. It's coming to Switch, PS5, and Xbox Series X. He said the reveal tomorrow, basically. So when we're recording this, that's May.
Yeah, Ed Boon said that. Yeah.
Yeah, Ed Boon. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Ed Boon.
And there's a time for it.
Is there a time? Yeah. So
yes, 6 a.m. your time.
Okay, I'll maybe tune in. People are saying it's going to be a CGI trailer with gameplay most likely at PlayStation's event next week, which also got announced today, which I don't think we have. You know what? I want to talk about that for a minute. We don't have anything else that we can kind of wrap it in with. I'm excited for this, Tucker.
I'm so goddamn stoked.
Listen, we got a comment, I think, last week or the week before saying, like, how's it going to be a Nintendo podcast if you talk about other stuff? We're not going to talk about anything in too much detail, but I love the industry as a whole. And if there's something interesting going on, I will talk about it. And to be fair, PlayStation first PlayStation showcase since September of 2021.
Yeah,
which is huge. But also there will probably be some stuff that affects Switch. There will probably be an announcement from this. Maybe Final Fantasy IX remake. Maybe something along those lines.
Oh, I see. Yeah, true.
So I just want to say, we don't have to get too in detail. I'm so excited for this event. I've been dying for something to play on my PlayStation because I'm not a God of War guy. I'm gonna be completely honest.
One of the best games ever made.
Sure, I'm sure it is. I tried playing 2018 a couple times and I was like, it's really good. It's really high quality. I was like, eh.
Yeah.
But obviously Spider-Man 2 is coming out. We'll talk about that later as well, actually, surprisingly. Final Fantasy 16. So I'm excited to see what Phase 2, as we've been calling it online, of the PlayStation 5 is. And we'll likely have some Switch news in there as well.
Yep.
All right. Tucker, it's time. We're going to talk about what we're playing. So
what do you think?
We've both been playing Tears of the Kingdom. No need being hush-hush about it. But we've also both been playing 2 other games. So I want you to start with, you said you've been playing
2? I've only been playing 1 other game.
Well, sorry. 2 games collectively.
Oh, cumulatively, yes.
So I want you to
do you know something I don't about what I've been playing?
I've seen the incredible review scores for this game, Tucker, so I'm very curious to try it out. I have the PS Plus extra thing, so I might download it tonight if I have time. Tell me about Humanity, Tucker.
So Humanity comes from Enhance, but they did not develop it. Enhance is Tetsuya Mitsuguchi's company. He's the guy behind Res Infinite, Tetris Effect, Tetris Effect Connected, and they're publishing this game called Humanity, and I think Mitsuguchi is an executive producer on this game. And because I love Tetris Effect so much, and they haven't done anything since then. Connected is a little bit bigger, but it's basically the same game. Whatever came next for them, I was gonna be like, this is gonna be weird and it's gonna be really interesting. And Humanity was announced years ago, but I did not know about it. And so when I saw it in the more recent State of Play, I'm like, what the hell is this? This is awesome. State of Plays usually are very disappointing. But this was an interesting not announcement, but that re-reveal coming soon. PlayStation, first and foremost, all of that. And I was so stoked for this game. And I played the demo and I loved it. And I went on the website, I was reading everything and every interview I could. I was really into this game, and it releasing around to this game. I'm like, am I really gonna have time to get into this? But I downloaded it again, free on PS Plus. But I think maybe the first tier, the second tier.
Second tier. It's
the second tier. Yeah, PS Plus extra. I don't know. I have premium, so it doesn't fucking matter to me.
I stockpiled it before they switched it.
Oh, that's true. They did have a weird thing.
So I stockpiled it. I still had to pay an extra $60, so I guess I didn't really save any money, but it was nice this year when I got to keep my premium for only $60. I was like, okay, I'll take it.
So I played the first 90 minutes. I played the first 2 worlds worth. There's sets of levels that are chunked up into basically worlds. This game's awesome. I mean, it's exactly what I thought it would be, but there is a lot more variety than I knew because the demo was incredibly limited. The demo included a lot of the earliest levels in the game, but it was mostly focused on introducing the mechanics to you at a faster pace because they wanted you to hey, you've got turn, which is the basic. Oh, I should fucking explain what this game is.
I actually have no idea. I love Tetris Effect. I have no idea what this game is.
Nothing like Tetris Effect.
Yeah, of course.
Except for it's an audio visual surreal kind of experience. That's kind of the only thing that ties it together with Enhance's other games. But it's basically Lemmings, but in a 3D space and with trippy sort of surrealist visuals. You play as a Shiba Inu made out of light, and you must guide an unending stream of faceless humans to the goal. It's fucking lemmings. And you have these commands that allow them to change their path, to jump, to do whatever thing you're placing down. I don't know even close to any of all the commands that they have because I'm only 2 worlds in, and the only thing I've unlocked is turn, which is the basic function. If they walk forward and you hold square and press the left stick, then they'll go in the direction that has been placed on the ground. Then there's jump. They can jump a gap. There's long jump. There's high jump, and there's float, which allows them to jump longer or higher if they have this effect placed on them. And I'm sure there's a bunch more that I have not gotten to. And this unending stream of humans is placed onto floating gray blocks that are in this sort of trippy void with clouds in the background. It's got this really interesting sort of techno, but also like choral, like choir music behind it. And you're collecting these giant yellow humans called Goldies that are like this Mario stars. It's really a weird game, but it's so satisfying to puzzle these things together. There's really not a game truly like it. You can say it's based on Lemmings, but I think it takes that idea so much farther. Being in a 3D space, having a lot more options of commands, and just being so visually and conceptually unique. This is one of my favorite games of the year so far. I like weird shit. I like when a game creator takes a strange idea and just fucking goes for it and commits to it. And it seems like this game is substantial. There's so much stuff from the trailers I haven't seen yet. Fights against other kinds of humans. People are like swimming in the sky in giant balls. And it's like, what the hell is this? I cannot wait to dive even further into this game because I've really only done basic stuff so far. But I'm adoring this game. And even though Tears of the Kingdom is my focus, because it's so level based and the levels are relatively quick. I don't know, they take me 7 or 10 minutes each. I'm gonna try to play a world every few days so I don't like lose track of this because I'm really enjoying it so far. And I would really hate for it to be a game that I dropped off of and never saw to its conclusion because I think it's so special. And I'm glad that PlayStation is like pushing for it because this is a game that like would sell basically nothing if it wasn't available for people to try through PS Plus Extra. I really, really strongly recommend this game.
Yeah,
but it's so weird that you got to be in the mindset for a weird goddamn
right.
puzzle
I might download it after we record this. I'm in the mood for something a little. I've obviously been only playing, mostly only playing Tears of the Kingdom for the past 3 weeks now. Yes. So I want to like a nice little break. I love Tetris Effect, and I never played Connected. I don't really know what they even added. I think I have it. I think I have it ordered for Switch on limited run, so I'll be playing that on Switch soon. Yeah. Is this is a PS exclusive, right? Right now,
I believe so. It's a very technically impressive game.
Is it really? Okay.
In terms of the visual quality, like it's very high res game, but also like simplistic
high res
visuals, very high quality simplistic visuals, but also there's like 4,000 humans on screen.
I was gonna say, I wonder if this will come to Switch because obviously Tetris Effect at one point was exclusive to PlayStation, but then so
yes, that's true.
So maybe,
but no, I don't think it will.
Okay, I'll probably give this a try later tonight. I'm curious, but also we'll get to Tears of the Kingdom. I really want to play Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters. When I get to those.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot to play, but also like not a lot coming out. So I'm just trying to like get through like these smaller games and like the backlog a little bit.
Speaking of, I mean, there's not a lot coming out now, but we're 2 weeks away from June, in which Diablo 4, Street Fighter 6,
I think the only game I'll actually end up getting is Final Fantasy 16. Sure. I want to try Diablo and Street Fighter. Like I always want to get into. Same with like Mortal Kombat, but then I just never do. So I don't know if I'll pick that up. But yeah, I definitely want to get to. Maybe I'll probably try Humanity. Maybe I'll talk about it next week. But before we get to Tears of the Kingdom, I have also been playing a different game.
Okay.
And I just want to rant. So
perfect.
Usually, after a long day doing whatever the fuck I do, I call up the boys on Discord.
Not much.
And yeah, exactly. And we normally will play Warzone or something, or maybe we'll just sit in there. All three of us are playing Tears of the Kingdom, so we'll just sit in there talking about Tears of the Kingdom while we play it. But sometimes we'll play Warzone, and we haven't played it in a while. Specifically Warzone 2. But we started playing it again this week. It's that simple, mindless fun that is fun because you're playing it with your friends, right? Yeah. It's not actually good. But I more so wanted to bring it up because the current state of this game is unacceptable. And also, the current state of Call of Duty is unacceptable, as I alluded to when we were talking about Overwatch. So, I'll say this about Modern Warfare 2. I did not like Modern Warfare 2019. I thought the campaign was good, but I've generally always preferred Treyarch Call of Duties. Of course, that's Black Ops series. The last Call of Duty game I truly enjoyed was Cold War, which came out in 2020, which was 3 years ago now, which is a long time for me to not enjoy a Call of Duty. I will always buy them. I will always play them because at some base level, I do think all Call of Duty games are good. You know, they're made by so many people, and I don't think there's a better feeling shooter than Call of Duty.
Sure.
At least in the multiplayer
Big Vanguard
space.
guy.
I played Vanguard. I think it's better than people gave it credit for. I'm going to be completely honest.
I've not played it.
Right.
I just heard nothing good about that
The campaign wasn't good, but the multiplayer, I actually enjoyed the multiplayer more than Modern Warfare 2019. But of course, like I said, Cold War was the last one I really enjoyed. I platinumed that game. I love that game. Cold War was fantastic. I think Cold War is one of the best Call of Duty games, honestly. Which no one talks about that game. And I've been a Call of Duty fan my entire life, basically. I played Call of Duty 3 on the Wii when I was like 7 years old, and I played every game since then. I used to be able to almost defend this series because people always say like, oh, they release the same game every year for $60, $70 now. That didn't used to be the case with, you know, they would release Modern Warfare or COD 4 Modern Warfare, then you would get World of War, then you get Modern Warfare 2, then you would get Black Ops. There was always at least some sort of alternation between the developers, and each developer, I don't know if there was like a rivalry between them, but there was always some sense of like uniqueness to each developer, each studio.
Yeah.
Infinity Ward felt different from Treyarch, which felt different from Sledgehammer.
Yeah.
That is not the case anymore. I don't know if it's because of this more unified approach with Warzone and having your skins carry over between obviously 3 years they go into Warzone.
Yeah, they're trying for like some sort of cohesiveness.
Every game, except for Cold War, so I'm really excited for Treyarch next year to see if they got sucked into this, but every game since Modern Warfare 2019, so Modern Warfare 2019, Vanguard, and now Modern Warfare 2, I guess, so really only 3 games, has felt fucking identical. And I can't stand it because I don't like Modern Warfare 2019.
Yeah, sure.
But also just like the release strategy, you know, we don't need to get into this with the rumors right now. Well, this kind of goes in with what I was saying though. The rumor right now is initially Modern Warfare 2 was going to last 2 years because, and that would be a huge deal. They wouldn't release a game this year. They're going to release like a premium expansion with a new campaign,
which would have been the first time
ever
in 20 years. Yeah,
right. Since I think between COD 1 and COD 2, which would have been crazy.
You played this game, by the way? I've played COD 1.
I played COD 1. I don't think I played COD 2. But the idea that they were going to wait 2 years with this game, like I was sad because I didn't like Modern Warfare 2, like very much at all, but I was like, okay, fine. Let Treyarch take their time. Perfect.
Yeah.
And luckily, Treyarch is getting to take their time now. Hopefully that game ends up being good next year. But now they're shoehorning out Modern Warfare 3, developed by Sledgehammer.
Oh,
yes, that's the current rumor. That's not announced, but that is
it was supposed
the reliable
to be DLC
rumor.
or something,
right?
But now they're
just making it a $70 game. Like I said, I used to be able to defend Call of Duty because at the very least, every year they alternate a developer. And while this is Sledgehammer's Modern Warfare 3 and not Infinity Ward, I promise you it will feel exactly the same. And even just down to the name of the sub-series, we've never gotten a Modern Warfare game and then another Modern Warfare game.
Yeah.
And it's because, you know, they're very bad at addressing the community and talking to the community. It took, I think, 4 months after Modern Warfare 2 came out for a new map to be released. And that new map was in the beta for the game. And they removed it from the game.
So it was done.
So it was done. Now, of course, they added, you know, shipment and shoot house from other games. Like, they always remaster maps.
Of course.
But in terms, of course, they add the old maps. But the content delivery has been so abysmal. And it's so frustrating as a Call of Duty fan because I want to play these games and have fun with them. And I do have fun with them on a very basic level. But Cold War was genuinely good. And I don't think Modern Warfare 2 is that good. It's good because it's Call of Duty, and Call of Duty is inherently good. But it's not like there's nothing to it. I think the movement's slow. I think Warzone 2, this is something that I always find weird. I don't know if it's specifically Warzone isn't running well on a technical level or what. People always say Nintendo Online lags a lot. I have never played a game that runs as poorly as Warzone Online. Specifically, I think I figured it out last night. I was trying to figure out like what's going on here. It'll say like, if you play Call of Duty, you know this. In the top left, it'll say like packet burst. And I let me just say, I play on my PS5. I have an Ethernet cable connected to it, and I have very good internet. Like I have fiber optic internet. I'm good. I think I figured it out though. There's a train on the map of Warzone. I think getting on the train fucks everything up because the game will just stop working. And it's like, how is this happening? You have 1,000 people making this game every year. Why doesn't it work?
Yeah.
It's frustrating. I don't want to ramble about it too much, but Call of Duty, I want to be good. And I think it can be good. But Activision they're more worried about selling you a $20 skin that they sold you the exact same skin in 2019 again than making new content and fixing the issues.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. Call of Duty didn't used to be like this.
Blizzard.
Yeah.
Call of Duty.
Crazy.
Overwatch.
Crazy.
Two halves of the whole there.
It's very frustrating because I feel like, to be fair, Infinity Ward's always been kind of like this, even with Infinite Warfare and Ghosts. People didn't like those games. I thought Infinite Warfare was great, at least from a campaign standpoint. But Treyarch, at least Treyarch, and to be fair, like I said, I like Cold War, which was their last game, so it's not fair to lump them in with this. Treyarch seems to be pretty good about it. So, like I said, I'm curious to see if next year they just get fucking sucked into the Activision vacuum of bullshit, you know? But Tucker, this is a Nintendo podcast. Yeah. So let's stop talking about Call of Duty. Let's talk about the big new Zelda game.
Well, hey, Call of Duty might be coming to Nintendo platforms.
I'm just going to use that excuse ever. Oh, Humanity might come to Switch, so it's okay. No. No, let me clarify. Also, for the what we're playing section, we're not going to keep it in Nintendo because there will be weeks where we don't play anything.
Yeah.
Because we play on every
Nintendo,
platform. Yeah, exactly. We're going to talk about games that are outside of Nintendo's purview.
What's interesting about the amount of games that I play is, Abram told me a couple days ago that he doesn't see me as a Nintendo gamer first and foremost. I see myself as a Nintendo gamer first and foremost, but I do play on everything, and I'm a student of the industry at large, and I study what I can and learn about the games that Xbox publishes and PlayStation publishes, and I'm trying to get more into third-party stuff, but I mostly like learning about in-house things. But I've played like 9 times the amount of Nintendo games that I have any other single company's games. Like, I love Sony's games, but I've only played like 35 SIE games, but I've played over 200 Nintendo published / developed games. So Nintendo is that's my fucking bread and butter. I can get into the nitty gritty of Nintendo way the fuck more than anyone else. And so most of the games that I'll talk about will be Nintendo, or at least available on Nintendo platforms. My Switch has like 200 fucking games on it. So I play on.
You definitely seem a lot more indie focused than I am. I would say.
Oh yeah, I'm a big indie guy.
I used to love indie games. Nothing against indies. I just feel like there's so much to play. It's an issue. I want to play like Humanity. I don't even know if I would really consider Humanity an indie game because it is from Enhance, which is a pretty big name at this point. But I don't know if I'm gonna try.
Connecting was in an indie showcase.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Indie World, I guess it's called.
Or even like Sony considers Kena Bridge of Spirits an indie game. That's not an indie game.
Oh shit, you published that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's hard to make time for indies, but I definitely play primarily Nintendo first party now.
Yes.
But you know, whenever like Spider-Man 2, which we'll talk about, I will be playing that. All right, Tucker. I have made probably 30 videos talking about my experience with Tears of the Kingdom, and I talked about it last week and the week before that. So I want you to start us out on Tears of the Kingdom. I have not talked to you about this game yet.
No.
Well, first of all, how many hours in are you, and how are you feeling?
Let's pull up my handy-dandy Switch parental controls app.
The only way to see it 10 days before. Or you can have your friends do it. That's what I had Caleb do for me.
So here's proof. Okay, you can't fucking lie on the Switch.
He's pulling it up on the screen here. He plays 12 hours a day.
There
was a day you played 15 hours in one day.
Yeah, and that was the night when I had my overnight shift, and that's coming tonight as well. So I'll probably also have a lot on this Thursday hours. But I'm floating around 40 hours, something like that. Okay. So a lot.
I'm at about 75 or 80, I think it says for me.
Okay, I'm
You're catching up. I've been slowing down, and we'll talk about that when we get to, like, post game. Obviously, I play the game nonstop to get videos out, obviously, and you know I was excited to play the game, so I wanted to see the story before the ending got spoiled to me. But I've been slowing down now, just like getting the weird shrines and all that. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But, give me your Tears of the Kingdom.
So I have almost 40 hours. But I want you to like sort of ask me things that I can respond to that you feel like is commensurate to like our first discussion about this game.
Sure.
Any place you want to hear my thoughts on that like aren't reaching out too far into spoilers or I might not know about yet.
Okay, and I will say, I guess spoiler warning, we're not going to talk about ending boss fight, but we might talk about boss fights. We might even talk about like the abilities, and you know, I think we're at that point now where we can kind of do that. We're not going to talk about story spoilers. We'll talk about the opening of the game, though, and I think that's where I want to start, Tucker.
Sure.
You're a fake Zelda fan, as we've established, but I have to say, and I've been saying this for weeks, I think this game has the coolest opening of any Zelda game. The immediate intrigue and excitement going down to the depths of Zelda, the music, hearing Ganondorf's voice, hearing Zelda freak out about the murals of like the imprisoning war,
Yeah,
So
she gets really
fucking
excited.
good. It's so good.
Well, what's interesting about it is this game, I think, has the most confident opening of any Nintendo game I've ever seen because it, unlike almost any other Nintendo game, takes inspiration from what the other big games in the industry are doing. This shit starts off like a fucking Last of Us game. It starts off,
It does.
Nintendo presents small white text on a black screen, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Fucking music score hits. Fade open from black on Nintendo, not Nintendo. Jesus, his name is Link, not Nintendo. Link and Zelda in this dark, gloomy thing, high quality cutscenes, and then you do kind of like a semi-trailing mission. You know, you're walking behind, it's kind of slow. You're exploring this kind of enclosed environment. I've never experienced anything like this in a fucking Nintendo game before. I'm thinking greens. I'm thinking Mario 1-1. These are open areas. It's supposed to be gameplay centric, but the cinematic way they introduce you to this game, I think, shows a willingness to make this feel more like what has become today the premium gaming experience that is a little more cinematic focused. And Nintendo has never done that before. I mean, Breath of the Wild has the opening like couple lines, but then you're hopping out of your little fucking like waterbed, and then it's gameplay time. There's no big crazy cutscene, and even something like Odyssey, which also has a phenomenal opening cutscene, that is a 2-minute cutscene and then straight to Mario jump around gameplay. I think the idea of restraining it to introduce you to this world in a way that mimics what the rest of the industry is doing, but I think feels more confident because of that and more unique because of that, is really, really special. And the idea of Ganondorf being a presence from the first opening minutes of the game, and the intrigue of being under Hyrule Castle and sort of semi-learning about the imprisoning war and the sages, and Zelda being so excited about it, and then Zelda disappearing, and oh, she's gone into flashlight, and oh, she took my Master Sword. Like, there's so many weird things in the opening of this game that I think do give it a level of intrigue and production value that Nintendo games basically just never have, unless you're Monolith Soft.
Who made this
But I
game?
loved it. I loved it. That's true. They did help with this game. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely want to know, like, how many people worked on this game and how many of those people were Monolith Soft employees. We'll never get that information exactly, I don't think,
Yeah.
but I'd be
They
very curious
mostly
to
do
see.
map
I think
stuff.
I think I don't want to just say, oh, they made the map. I don't know if that's true. I would imagine it
Yeah.
probably mostly is, though, which is a big
They're
part of
I think
this.
they're credited on Wikipedia with something like that. I'm just gonna look up
Yeah.
Monolith Soft, Japanese video game developer. Let's go into their credits.
They actually released
Tears
a
of the
tweet
King.
about it.
Oh, support development. Okay, actually doesn't say.
Here, I'll look for the tweet, Tucker. You keep telling me about the opening of this game. How did you feel about I was surprised, and this goes for the entire game. I'm not sure how far you are into the story. Um,
I'll get to it.
it's you're right. It's still as open as Breath of the Wild is, but because
Of course.
there's more focus on like a current story, I do feel like the game feels a little bit more linear in the way it presents itself. It's still, you can do anything in any order, but I don't know. Maybe I just didn't play Breath of the Wild like this, but this game felt linear. It felt like it was pushing me in each direction very pointedly. And like, to be fair, Breath of the Wild did that as well, but it felt like there was more of a focus in this game on that.
I guess so, through the core story missions, but also the core story missions are sort of varied. Of course, there is. Well, the first thing we should talk about the Great Sky Island,
Right.
which I do think is. I talked about this a little bit on Twitter with a friend of the show, John Cartwright from Good Vibes Gaming, about this. I think the Great Sky Island versus the Great Plateau. The Great Sky Island, I think, is a more visually interesting starting location. I love the Great Plateau, but in terms of the golden trees and the giant amount of clouds that are only there for that part of the game, and being introduced to the Zonai and everything having this yellow and teal gold kind of color palette to it, I really love aesthetically the Great Sky Island. I think the way that it introduces you to the mechanics at a different kind of pace, and you've got Rauru leading you around and you're talking to little maker constructs, I really love that. But I think in terms of the structure, I'm a little bit disappointed in it because the Great Plateau, I think, was a great plateau. It was a great smaller version of of what the
Had
Overworld
different
was.
environments.
It had the forest. It had learning about the rivers. It had learning about hunting. It had learning about cold. the Great Sky Island is a very good opening area, but it doesn't reflect what you're going to be doing for the rest of the game. You're going to be spending most of your goddamn time in Hyrule or in the depths. The Sky Islands are a much smaller portion of this game than, frankly, I was expecting. And I think that I understand why they did this, but it doesn't reflect the game as well as the Great Plateau did. And it's a weird balance. It's totally fine opening, but like I like comparing them in my mind. I'm like, I think the Great Plateau still wins out in terms of feeling a lot more natural.
I don't know if I agree necessarily, but I don't necessarily disagree. Obviously, with Breath of the Wild, that was the first time they did a game like this, so getting you used to those general open world design aspects, that was important. And I think this is why maybe it goes into what I was saying about it feeling like a little bit more linear. Rauru pretty clearly tells you, go to that shrine next. You can go to a different shrine, but he doesn't, like, the old man in Breath of the Wild, he just says, go to the tower and mark them all, and get to them. Sure. But Rauru leads you directly, and I think that's because the open world isn't necessarily the focus of this game like it was with Breath of the Wild. The focus has become Ultra Hand. And I think that's why they designed it to be a little bit more linear, like I'm saying, because you get to that river and they're like, okay, well, you have to make a boat. You have to figure out how to make a boat. So in terms of like teaching you about the abilities, I think this is a better opening area than the Great Plateau was in terms of teaching you about magnesis. But that's because the focus is a little different. Obviously, the open world.
The focus is much more on the abilities here.
Right, I mean, exactly.
Using stasis and cryonis and magnesis and the bombs is like a supplementary thing.
Exactly.
In the Wild. Though it's about the physics, it's about the world, it's about pushing a boulder down a thing to knock a bokoblin off, to hunting a boar in the forest, to getting your paraglider, learning about the cold. That is what Breath of the Wild was. But I do think that you're right in terms of mechanically what this game's focus is. This is much more, you got to learn about using your abilities to get to the next area, which was only partially true. I mean, I actually don't think there ever was it wasn't necessary to ever use stasis or magnesis. Well, it's somewhat
in the shrines it was, but not.
Yeah, of course, but in the Great Plateau. So I think you're right from that angle. I don't know. I like the Great Plateau so much. It's just a different feel. It's only like mildly disappointing. It's not
yeah,
really
we're talking about disappointment between two 10 out of 10 games.
Yes. I already gave this a 10 out of 10 on backlog.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, I guess we can jump from there and talk about just the abilities.
Yes.
Let's start with Ultra Hand. How do you feel about Ultra Hand? Because when I was playing this game, I was playing before the day one patch.
Yeah.
First of all, it made the game run like shit. And it still chugs a little bit, like when you first start using Ultra Hand, but it's not bad. No. But I will say for the first, I don't know, maybe 5-10 hours, it took me a while to get used to creating stuff with Ultra Hand. Not necessarily controlling it, although sometimes getting like the right angle was a little weird, like a fan. Sometimes we like tilted and it's like, okay, I don't want that. But specifically getting things to actually work. It took me a little bit to get just used to, like, I don't know. Like, I saw sometimes with fans, specifically. You put a fan on something, and then it starts blowing. If you put a fan, like, down and activate it, it'll just start flying by itself.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's the physics of this game. I guess it took me a while to get used to the physics, I guess is a better way of saying it.
Sure.
But yeah, how have you been learning Ultra Hand? How have you been, taking, kind of adjusting to it in this game?
The controls were the only thing I had to adjust to, but for me, I did not have I'm fumbling with the controls, accidentally doing other things that I feel like a lot of people have been talking about. Of course, that's a sort of scale of the game sort of thing. You're really only going to be fumbling with that for the start of the game.
Sure,
and I think
exactly.
that in the larger discussion of this game, that's not really going to be a factor, but I didn't even really have that. I think that it was just the opening shrines and like the puzzles to get to the shrines that I was struggling with it. But like immediately I jump off into Hyrule. I'm not building crazy shit, but it felt very natural to me as an extension of what I was learning with magnesis and like cryonis and the other abilities from Breath of the Wild. I adapted to it very quickly, and I actually really like the way that they do the holding down R to then snap it to 45-degree angles and turn it like that. I really like the way that they did the controls in this, and I found them to be something that I use a lot more in the world than anything else in Breath of the Wild. I mean, I would use magnesis when I saw a chest, like a metal chest, and sometimes I would use cryonis to cross a river in Breath of the Wild, or I would just like find a raft. Those actually, the more I look back on Breath of the Wild, I'm like, the abilities were really like a pretty small part of that game.
Well, that's things considered. And that's the thing that I've been saying for weeks now. Breath of the Wild is a 10 out of 10. I freaking love that game.
Yeah,
but now that we have this, which is just a clearly better video game, it's easier to go back and look at Breath of the Wild and be like, oh,
huh. Interesting. Yeah, because we didn't have anything to compare it to. And now that I am like actively searching the environment for things that I can go up using Ascend or using Rewind a lot more in combat than I was ever using Stasis. I never used Magnesis in combat. I was just like an option if you were like, I don't know, clumsy. And of course, traversal and combat and exploration are all, if you want to, tied so heavily to Ultra Hand that these are like the core of the game in a way that I never really expected. And it took me a little bit of time to get used to like focusing on them, but I think the game comes a lot more rewarding when you are using them to their fullest potential. Sometimes I'll look at an area and be like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? But it's because I forgot that I had Ascend. And if I just remembered that I had fucking Ascend, then, this world becomes a lot more interesting to manage. And the greatest compliment I can give this game is that I have never thought about an open world in this way. Not only because the abilities change the way that you're approaching combat and exploration because you have this freedom to create that changes the way you're approaching any situation, but this has the most vertical map I've ever experienced. Not only because there are areas above and areas below, but because they give you the means constantly to be moving up and down. I've never experienced that in an open world game. I know like Just Cause has a lot of, flying around and stuff, but I haven't played Just Cause. And I really love all the like more subtle changes that this game has, is especially with the towers. Let's talk about the fucking towers. The Skyview towers versus the
so much better.
Sheikah towers. I don't know what they're like.
Yeah, the Sheikah towers. Yeah.
In Breath of the Wild, it's more fun to unlock
a
Skyview tower.
They weren't puzzles before. Exactly. You just had to get to them.
There. It's more fun to get to them. It's more fun to see that you got to them, or like experience them in themselves, because there's this weird fucking Doc Ock animation that's like grabbing you and it's like, oh god, I'm fucking scared of hentai tentacle porn. And then he gets shot up in the air and he's like scanning it. It's like, oh, this cutscene is kind of cool. Gets a little samey. Wish you'd skip it, but that's okay. And then
it's only 15 of them,
giving you the ability to shoot up in the air and survey the environment and obviously use your paraglider, especially if you have an upgraded stamina wheel to really kind of go where you want. The world feels so manageable. And even though it's vast, I feel like I can go wherever I want, and it's not tough. And that's of course a difference of what you enjoy out of like the moment-to-moment gameplay. I can understand why someone would prefer the world feeling kind of oppressive in Breath of the Wild and needing to like climb fucking everything and like, oh god, I'm almost out of stamina. That doesn't really happen to me in this game. But I prefer that because I feel like I have a grasp on this world and its size, both vertically and horizontally, that I've never experienced in an open world. And it feels really, really rewarding to have a grasp on this world that I haven't before.
Yeah, great point with the towers and how you launch out of them. That's how I played Breath of the Wild. So I want to give a fucking round of applause to Nintendo for figuring that out.
Yeah.
When in Breath of the Wild, I would go to a tower, I would use Rivali's Gale, and then I would glide around and see, like, for shrines, or in this game, they have, like, the memories you can find, the geoglyphs. It's perfect. And like you said, yeah, it's... Breath of the Wild already ruined a lot of open world games for me. And I don't want to say ruined, because I still, I love Ghost of Tsushima. I love Far Cry 5. I tried to like Horizon. I didn't like Horizon. And even, like, Bethesda's, like, open world games, I never really liked those very much. But that was just me, even before Breath of the Wild. I didn't
Redfall.
Like those. Yeah, of course, Redfall is just a fantastic game. But with Breath of the Wild and its open air design, as they've called it, it completely changed the way I play and want to move around in a world like this.
Yeah, of course.
And,
climbing,
right?
Just it feels so weird to not climb.
It decimates every other open world game in terms of its design, in terms of just raw gameplay. It's so much more fun and interesting to explore. But I didn't even really truly realize this, I don't think, until the past week. I was saying that Recall, I think, is actually the most interesting mechanic, because I think Recall is fucking awesome. And I don't
That's still the one I have to use more.
Right. But what I'm going to say is, and we can talk about Recall more in a bit, is Ascend. I didn't realize how game-changing this is. I was playing, like, once again, I was playing Warzone literally last night, and there's like this radio tower, and you can climb up it with a ladder, and I was like, damn, I wish I could just use Ascend right now. And it just recontextualizes an open world space in a way I never would have expected. Because when I saw Ascend in that trailer, I was like, oh, you only be able to do it for in very specific areas, like a small cave. No. There's, I won't spoil where it is, but there's an area in the underground. I think there's actually multiple areas in the depths of this game, which we can talk about openly now because the game's been out. There's an area where you use Ascend down there and go all the way up. And it's fucking awesome. Not to a sky island. Not to a sky island, I will say that. But just like to the main map. And that's just so cool. Stuff like that. It makes you recontextualize. And talking about the Skyview Towers, because I didn't initially have that kind of like process and thinking for Ascend, there's a Skyview Tower where the guy tells you, have you gotten all the towers, Tucker?
There's like 2 or 3 left.
Okay, you've probably gotten this one. This isn't really a spoiler. It's a gameplay thing. This is the first tower I got to where it was actually locked, and I was like, "Oh, what do I do?" And there's an NPC outside.
Oh,
he tells you,
you go.
Yeah, and he tells you to go down to the cave because he needs energy, because he needs mushrooms, because he's hungry. And in my brain, I was like, "Oh, I just need to get him some mushrooms, cook him up a quick meal, and he'll open the door."
And he'll be strong enough or healthy enough.
Dude, I spent like 30 minutes just running around that cave.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Wait, I can use Ascend." And it's such a good puzzle, and this game is so smart. It doesn't make you feel like an idiot. It just makes you feel so smart when you figure anything out, even if it's something simple. My friends figured that out instantly, but for me, it took a while, and it's so good. And it's something I've never experienced before in an open world space. Not even Breath of the Wild.
No, of course. Because you didn't have that kind of flexibility. The world was relatively rigid. Of course, there were the physics engines placed on top of it to roll down boulders or move a log or not knock a bokoblin off a thing and watch him fall all the way down. Those were kind of, in comparison, superfluous elements. I think that the interactivity of this world and the way that you can like literally just like swim through it and fly above it if you want to does make it feel like you can like mold the world to like fit your needs. And I really, really, really do love that. I have only just got into using Ultra Hand to build vehicles for myself that I'm going to use for traversal. Up until this point, I've actually never ridden a horse. 45 hours in, I've never gotten on a horse.
There's no point to, honestly.
No, there's no point to.
There's some side quests that require it, but
yeah. So I also don't have very many pony points, which is kind of lame.
All the stables, man.
There's so much to talk about in this fucking game.
But we talk about we're gonna be talking about this game for months, so it's fine.
Yeah, Jesus. Any other questions you want to know my like early opinions on? Well, early. I played more of this game than I have like most fucking games in my life.
Right. Well, we actually had a question from someone on the community post, so I guess we can kind of segue into this.
Yeah.
Squirrel World asked, "What is your opinion on squirrels and why are they the best animal?" No.
But
no. They were just asking that. Their name is Squirrel World. They like squirrels, Tucker. I don't like squirrels. I did
in real life.
In real life, no, they're fine. A couple years ago, we had a squirrel somehow fall down our chimney and it hurt itself, so we had to like nurse it. I don't know how the fuck it got in there, but we got helped it out. We got like the animal control people to come and like help it.
Oh, okay. I thought you like had a little bed for it. I was like,
we got like a shoebox, put like some like a little like tablecloth or something in there for it.
Sure.
It did not make it. So I'm I'm sorry, Squirrel World. I tried. I don't even like squirrels, but I tried. Damn it. But no. The second part of their question is, how do you feel about Tears of the Kingdom dungeons, designs, bosses, build up, and abilities? So this is a very contentious point for this game. Like you said, there's so much to talk about. We could jump to anything here, but I feel like just focusing on dungeons right now makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because we were talking about abilities.
Right.
They're awesome.
So I will say this. I think the dungeons, or we can just talk. We'll call it one of they are. They're temples. I think the temples in this game are very good. However, I think the lead up to the temples is way better than any other part of the game, to be completely honest. These are these moments we saw in the trailer where you're fighting with Sidon, and to be fair, that is part of the dungeon as well. But specifically, and I keep going back to this one, but I don't. What dungeons have you done? I guess I'll ask you that.
I have done one temple.
Which one is that?
The Rito Temple.
Okay.
So I know
we can talk about that.
I know his ability. I know the lead up. I know the lead up to the lead up, which I didn't.
Right, exactly. It's longer than the temple itself, and I get people being disappointed by the general structure of the temples being the same as Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the abilities that make it feel different, but they don't feel like divine beasts.
No, I don't think they do at all. I think that the way that I approached the Wind Temple was one of, again, kind of like the open world. I feel like I can like mold this temple to the way that I want to approach it, and especially because that temple is in the sky and you're using your paraglider to like sort of look on the sides and below it and stuff. I really did. I really like that dungeon. It was shorter than I expected, especially compared to like the lead up, which is you doing what you talked about
It's
at
so
one point
cool,
earlier in this.
dude. It's a
The
galaxy platforming section.
it's
Splatoon. It's Splatoon. It's
exactly,
so
the
fucking
insanely
cool.
long fucking jumping on these, like, springs that are also,
Boats.
like, the sails of these boats in the sky, really cool thing. But then also the lead up to that, which is you need to find Tulin, and you're going through these caves and talking to the people, the other Rito that are, like, searching for food because of the blizzard, and you're, like, learning about the way that, Rito culture has been sort of decimated, the children are running the shops because the adults are like out looking for food and they've like sort of splintered across the landscape and learning about how Tulin has a problem like working with others, but he's still like a really skilled young Rito warrior. I really loved the way that it was this is the only time that I have currently felt what you have said of this game feeling more linear. This is the most Sword esque linear section of this game that I've played, or of either of these games, Breath of the Wild or this, because I was going through little platforming challenge areas and navigating a cave that was like one tube, and I really did enjoy it. It felt so distinct from the rest of it. And yeah, the design of the Wind Temple being placed into this sky boat that you've been hearing about from the children leading up to it, and this crazy fucking boss that you have to fight that I thought was
So
a
good,
ton of
dude.
fun.
So good.
I thought it was all really goddamn good. And I have not even approached I haven't visited Goron City or the Zora domain or Gerudo Town yet, but I want to, and that'll probably be like what I approach tomorrow. Is I think maybe I'll go to Goron City next. What where does the game nudge you second? Uh,
I went to Zora's domain next.
Zora's domain. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there an order that you'd recommend them in?
Honestly, and it's well, in Breath of the Wild, I think the correct order would be Zora's domain, then probably Rito at that point, then Goron, then Gerudo. It's pretty
Yes.
similar in this game. I would say do Goron third and then Gerudo last. The Gerudo
Okay.
temple boss is easily the hardest boss in the game. I'm
Mm,
just gonna be
mm,
completely honest with you. It's fucking hard. Or at least I
yeah.
had trouble with it. Maybe there's something simple that made it a lot easier. And the best part is, Tucker, the lead up to each dungeon, they're all just as good as that Wind Temple lead up.
Great. Great. I'm excited.
Specifically, I'm not gonna spoil anything else, but the Gerudo lead up, it's like what you said with the opening of this game. It's like almost like the Sony first party set piece. There's
Yeah.
moments like that,
Hmm.
and like just new mechanics and stuff like that. Really cool. The only thing negative I will say about the
Sure.
temples in this game is, and this has been one of the reasons people didn't like Divine Beasts. There are other enemies in the temple, like, and I think the one temple you see like the Arakudas flying around, right? But
Yeah, I didn't
it's
really do
right.
much.
It's still mostly constructs. So I
Yes.
wish there was more organic enemies within the places,
Hmm.
because
Sure.
and I remember pre-release when I was on 4chan looking at spoilers and stuff, and leaks. There was people were saying like, oh, there's gonna be mid bosses like there used to be in old Zelda games, like a mid
Yeah.
boss where you get like something and then you can go to the end. No, it's not like that.
The
Um,
bosses aren't mid.
the bosses are not mid. The Wind Temple boss, we don't need to say too much about it, but the music during that boss fight and just like the
Yeah.
cinematic setting is so fucking good. But
Yeah.
yeah, I wish there was maybe some more organic life in these places. But
Sure.
I guess it
Well,
makes sense from a story standpoint that there isn't.
yeah.
But
I think my suggestion for the lack of enemy variety in again the only one temple that I've been in, but I don't expect it to change in the other ones that I go to, is there's really only two kinds of constructs. I mean, obviously you got the boss ones that are like made of blocks and stuff, but otherwise, like the Zonai enemies are very limited in a way that people criticized Breath of the Wild for, and I think rightfully so. The lack of enemy variety in that game. It was different versions of kind of similar looking guys. That's not the problem with natural enemies anymore. It's a problem with the Zonai enemies because there's really only the
three.
ones that shoot at you, the ones that have shields, and then the normal
But
little
even
guys.
then, they mostly look the same. I'm trying to think. There's
Yeah.
and there
But
are like the
why aren't
different
there
color tiers.
like bigger ones? Why aren't
Right.
there like Zonai that are like full on like soldiers that are like sort
There's
of
no guardian.
humanoid shaped?
There's no
No,
Zonai guardian
exactly.
equivalent.
Very strange. And I
Yeah.
think that if there had been more Zonai enemy variety and you were fighting more kinds of Zonai in the temples, it wouldn't even be a problem that there's not organic enemies. It'd be, oh, there's just a different kind of Zonai that I'm approaching, but you're really not. It's also the same ones that you're fighting in the shrines and also on the Sky Islands. It's only those 2 or 3 kinds of Zonai. That is a mild criticism, but also, at least in the Wind Temple, there were like 3 guys that I
Right.
needed to fight, and they were just as easy as the other ones that I had fought. I knew how to fight them because I'd fought them a billion times in the fucking shrines. So that wasn't really I didn't really factor. I wasn't even thinking about that, but it is certainly a criticism. There should be more kinds of Zonai. They're fucking robots. They can look whatever you want. Like, huh?
Yeah. Even
Why
if
aren't
they
there
just
more?
gave each temple their own Zonai creature
True.
to be in it.
Yeah.
Maybe they
A
didn't want to
wind
do that.
kind of Zonai.
Maybe
Water
they didn't want
Zonai,
to do
yeah.
that because then like you'd have to go back there to grind materials, and that wouldn't make sense. But they could just give them like the generic Zonai charges or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. So that is like one criticism I think is actually fair, because like to your point, I think the organic enemies in Hyrule and the Sky Islands, they're great. There's plenty of enemy variety. They really
upgraded it.
I made a video like a month ago talking about enemy variety and how I said this game will probably fix it before the game came out. And in my
Yeah.
opinion, they completely delivered in terms of
I agree.
the organic
I
enemies. But I've been getting comments saying like, no, they didn't. And I'm like, what more did you want?
What I'm confused about is Zelda has never been known for extreme enemy variety in the first place. I mean, other 3D Zelda games have a reasonable amount of enemy variety, but not a huge amount. I think Tears of the Kingdom, I mean, I don't know this for sure, but I think it probably has the biggest amount of enemy variety. The addition of the frogs and the giant frogs and the obviously you still have Lionels and the Moblins and the Bakamans and the Zolfos, but then Aracudas, which are actually kind of a non-thing. Like they're so fucking easy. They're like whatever.
Yeah, and the
And the Horriblins and the different kinds of Horriblins, and obviously still got the Choo-Choos and the fucking boss Moblins. And I think they did a really good job.
Me too. And it's weird because like, for what I've seen, it's mostly people saying like, oh, they only added X amount of new enemies, building off of Breath of the Wild.
Mm.
I don't think that's entirely fair, because
Mhm.
not only do you still have those enemies from Breath of the Wild, but they have new variants. They have the different horns on their head. And I know that's something like if you aren't going to play this game and grind out your armor and like upgrade it and really grind materials, that doesn't really matter. But it adds visual distinction. Or even when you're in the depths and they have like the gloom surrounding them, it makes it feel different. It isn't actually different, but for me, the biggest issue with Breath of the Wild was just like the visual variety. It got kind of boring.
Yeah, because even when you were going from red Bokoblin to blue Bokoblin, it was just like a smash palette swap.
Even in this game, the Bokoblins that have like stuff on their back and you hit them and it goes everywhere. That stuff's awesome.
Yeah.
It's not a new enemy, but it plays differently.
Yeah, well, it makes them feel like it's more than just the same guy copy and pasted, because even if it is red Bokoblin that has is an archer, so therefore has like a pack on its back, or it's the blue Bokoblins that then have slightly stronger weapons and have the different kind of horns and like attack you a little bit differently. I think they feel more organic. It's less copy and pasted than Breath of the Wild was, and that's a huge benefit.
Absolutely.
And it's also something they didn't need to do, right? Like that they still have the same basic enemies, but they just gave them a better distinction, which doesn't make any fucking sense story-wise. There's no explanation for that, but it's just like they evolved. Over the 6 years, the Bokoblins and the Moblins fucking learned.
My friend Kayla made a good point, and I was like, that is a good point. I can understand the constructs having fused weapons, but why is it that Bokoblins just sometimes have stupid shit?
Yeah, how do they have?
That doesn't really make any sense. They learn how to glue stuff together. Yeah. It's a little weird. I'll accept it just for the gameplay variation. I like it.
Yeah,
but it is a little funny. Tucker, we can talk about this game forever, but at the very least, I do want to hear your thoughts on the depths, because I saw you say something in your server. I think you said like I'm a depths enjoyer or something.
Yeah, I'm a depths man.
Yeah, tell me about the depths, because I'm not even close to being done exploring down there. I maybe lit up 30 light routes, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Which is
Out of
a decent amount. I think there's 120.
Okay.
That might be incorrect. It's somewhere around there, because they're related to the shrines, but it's not like the Skyline shrines. Yeah. So I've done a decent amount of exploring down there. I haven't done a ton, but there seems to be a very common criticism that there's not much to do down there, and I think that's completely fair.
Yeah.
But for me, there are quests down there. There are boss fights down there.
Yes.
And there's even temples that are down there. So For me, I think it's pretty good. And also, now that I'm in the post game doing I have over 100 shrines done now. I'm just kind of it's all like the annoying ones that are like in caves or you have to do like a puzzle in the world to activate it.
Yeah.
It's fun just going down there and kind of grinding out some Zonite. I know that's very simple, but I like just going down there, fighting in the obsidian frocks, getting some abilities,
well, that's a fun boss
or not some abilities, some materials. I don't know. I feel like it's made for people that are gonna play this game like hundreds of hours. It feels like an area for post game, and I kind of like that.
It also just kind of feels optional, which I think is nice.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I haven't gotten to any point where story requires it. I mean, obviously, you have to like talk to Robbie and what's her name? Start with a J. Josha, yeah. John. Who the hell? I think Josha probably sounds
sounds better. Yeah.
That's like the only time you have to go down there. But after I went down there, I was like, oh, this is fucking weird. There's the little weird frocks guys. It has such a different feel in terms of how you traverse it because there's a lot more walls and there's like these big vine things that like make big bridges that you can ascend up to, then paraglide down, and approaching them from above because you have to find the chasms. I think is really interesting, and I found the progression of throwing bright bloom seeds, which I think are a really awesome mechanic, and then getting to the light route and having it fill out the map in a different kind of way than like the jagged sort of like very specific way that that the towers do. I found that to be really, really compelling to the point that I was surprised when I like thought back and was like, oh, I'd only done like 10% of it at that point. That's what you said. I've already done like 70%.
Are you serious?
Of the depths. Yeah.
Oh, so you've been spending time down there.
I have almost more of the map uncovered in the depths than I do in the overworld. I just find it really interesting. And I do agree that I wish that there was more puzzle down there. There's basically no puzzle stuff. There's just fighting enemies really, and then like finding the mines and messing with them. But like, there's not as much of the materials that you can build stuff with. There's basically none, only in very specific areas around
like
the mines.
Little like gazebos that you can find and then you build them
occasionally.
Yeah.
But from that angle, I think it feels different enough to where I'm approaching it differently, and I think I enjoy it a lot because of that. And also just the idea of it being this mirror image in a way that makes you like think about map design in a different way. Of water in the overworld is walls in the depths, and so then when you're trying to like think about, okay, what kind of path am I taking through the depths, you have to think about, if there's a fucking river, I'm not getting to the other side of that. I gotta find another chasm on the other side, or find the tiny little area that like connects them. I find it to be really compelling, especially the element of shrines correspond with life routes, marking them on my map either way, vice versa, and using that to guide me to the other area, I think is just a really interesting kind of cohesion that I didn't expect. And it's both the overworld and the depths incentivize me to explore the other one in different kind of ways, and I really, really do love that.
Yeah, that when I found out about the fact that the shrines are above each light route, that was like a really cool revelation, because some people might say like the depths are designed worse than the actual map above, and that's I think fair. It's not. I'm sure they didn't spend enough time on it because there simply is less in it. But I can't even imagine having to design this map based on where all the shrines are above it. They had to figure out, okay, if there's a shrine here, there has to be a light route here, and that's just really cool to think about from a design standpoint. And you're right, you do approach it from a different perspective. I don't have I think there's pants you can get that like glow or something, so you can like light up your area.
Yeah, I got something like that.
I don't know.
I just use I don't use my armor very much. Situational armor I'm not finding particularly useful.
Sure. It's a little annoying throwing the seeds.
I think it's fun.
It is fun, but eventually it kind of gets old. That's when I go back up and I'm like, okay, I'll do.
It's also hard. It's weird control wise. That's the one element control wise that it's a sticking point for me, is holding R and pressing up. But then, like, I couldn't quite get my mind around that, so I'd be like holding my weapon up like a jackass. And
well, that's how it is. You start throwing your weapon, then you press up to pull out the item. This game is very technical in what you can do, so I get it. There's not very many buttons they could have worked with, But I wish there was just a quicker way to throw out a bright bloom seed. And I guess to be fair, you can just shoot an arrow, but I'm not trying to waste my arrows.
No, yeah, arrows are much more precious resource than I would.
Dude, okay, I don't remember playing Breath of the Wild like this. I feel like every encounter is just bullet time arrows.
Yes, yes.
specifically the flux constructs on the Sky Islands. Every time I see one of those like big open areas in the Sky Islands, you know,
the big block guys.
Yeah, the big block guys. I immediately am like, okay, I'm gonna use a rocket to get above it, and then immediately obliterate it before the health bar even appears.
Yes,
and fighting those are super cool too because have you fought any of them? Or too many
I've had a couple, yeah.
Yeah, there's one specifically because they have like the numbers.
I got fucked by a Flux Construct 3 in the depths.
Right. Well, I was gonna say, yeah. Well, that's dude. That's another aspect of the depths I love too. You see like these lights in the distance, and at first I didn't know what the red like circle light was, so I went up to it early game, and I was like, oh, I'm not doing this right now. I got immediately obliterated. But with the Flux Construct 3, the design of this game is so smart in how you interact with these enemies. It does this thing where it just becomes like a flat layer floating above you, and then it like shoots out blocks. So you can either use Ascend or you can use Recall on one of the blocks and get back up there. Dude, it's so
I haven't used any abilities on the Flux Constructs.
Yeah,
I know you can use Ultra Hand to like grab bits of their body away, which I think is really fun.
I didn't even know you could do that.
I didn't even think about using Ascend or Recall because I've only just started using Recall to like send boulders back at like the Talos. What were the fucking rock guys? The big rock guys. Talos?
Stone Talos?
Stone Talos. Talos. Yes. US. I'm like Talos is something
Principle?
else. Yeah. What the fuck? It's something that whatever.
Well, Go ahead.
I've just started using Recall. I need to incorporate the abilities more into my combat because I'm basically just a bows guy. And then like once I'm like either out of arrows or they're too close to me, pull out a weapon that I've fused a fucking like black moblin horn to and just but I am to the point with my combat that's so focused on bows that I was out of bows. I was not out of arrows, I was out of bows. And I looked up a where to find good bows in Tears of the Kingdom article, and then I went and found a pretty good one. But yeah, I'm very focused on arrows, which I think is it's my fault. Like I'm approaching the combat in
You're playing it the same way I am.
I wish it was easier to get bows. There's like even the archer enemies don't like consistently drop their bows, and when they do, they're usually shit.
I don't know, I feel like the shrines pretty consistently give you like a bow at the end, like a construct bow at the end. At the end.
Yeah, but the construct was like only 11. I want something better than that.
Sure, and I guess you can't fuse your bow to something to make it stronger.
No,
with the weapon.
You can't. Yeah,
that's a good point. But I wanted to say because we didn't really talk about Recall very much. My genius moment with Recall, I realized this at one of the shrines. So oftentimes you'll have to use, and people have been breaking these with rockets on your shield. You can just fly up and then go in. You know what I'm talking about? Like to like the end of the shrine, you can skip the puzzle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's like usually like a gate.
Yeah, you can use the abilities in tandem. So if let's say you have just a plank or something, and you need to get up high, but to do that you need to like do this whole puzzle or something. You can use Ultra Hand, hold the thing up there, hold it up there for 10 seconds. Just sit there. All right, you're good. Cool. Put it down. Use Recall, and then use Ascend on it while it's recalled. It's so fucking cool.
Just stand on top of it and recall it.
Well, that too. Yeah, that too. It's just the way that you can manipulate these games and not even do the shrine the intended way is so funny. It's so cool, man. The way it feels so much more. I love Breath of the Wild. I don't want to like slander its name. It feels like this game was designed with so much more purpose. Everything feels like it was made in tandem with one another, and it's so good, man.
Yeah. Oh my god. And we'll continue to talk about this. I think maybe next week we share more of our like emergent stories or like our thoughts on maybe the narrative. I don't know if I'll have beaten like more of how many more of the temples I'll have beaten. Because I'm really focused right now on finishing exploring the map. I've only got like, as I said, 2 or 3 sky towers left. And I'm also just getting a bunch of fucking Korok seeds. I don't know. I like finding Koroks. I actually got all the Korok seeds in Breath of the Wild, which is a fucking crazy thing.
I'm trying 100% this game. I don't know if I'll actually stick with it. I definitely, at the very least, want to do all the side quests and shrines. Like I said, I'm over 100 shrines now, so I'm getting there. But, yeah. We'll be talking about this game for weeks to come. And eventually, we'll get into more spoiler stuff, too, as we talk.
Yes.
Because,
We'll probably have a spoiler cast section like after like 3 weeks or a month or
Sure,
whatever.
sometime next month for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Tucker. God, I don't even know how long we talked about Tears of the Kingdom just now. It feels like it.
I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we were talking about what we were playing for like a long time. But let's get back into the news. So we had 3 major stories, I guess I'll say this week. Starting off, and I'm actually
Let's talk about Tears of the Kingdom.
Let's talk about Tears of the Kingdom. I was thinking about should I switch them around. I was thinking about should I switch it around, but I was like, no, let's just talk about Tears of the Kingdom. So, Nintendo, thankfully, didn't record another day early because we would have missed this. Nintendo announced this morning on Wednesday when we were recording that Tears of the Kingdom has managed to sell 10 million copies in its first 3 days. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's Wednesday, so you have to imagine it's probably closer to 15 million now. I would assume just based on the math. Unless it slows down.
Necessarily checks out.
Obviously, it's going to slow down dramatically, but
yeah,
it's going to keep selling. It's definitely sold at least a couple million more, I would imagine.
Yes, true. I think 15 might be a little bit of a stretch, but I think by the end of like 2.5 weeks, I think 15 million is probably
absolutely. Yeah.
And by the end of the first 3 months, I think 22. It might be around that.
So just some quick stats. In Japan, it sold I think 2.5 million alone. In North America, it sold 4.4 million. And these are rough numbers because I am remembering off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure those are accurate. It is most notably, Tucker, fucking crazy. This is crazy. This is not only is it already the second best-selling Zelda game, which is, I mean, we knew it was going to become the second best. I didn't think it would happen in 3 fucking days. This matches Pokemon Scarlet and Violet as the biggest video game launch for Nintendo. Not just on Switch.
Not only that, but Scarlet and Violet
it's 2 games.
Notoriously, true, we're 2 games, but that only I think inflates Pokemon a little bit. I think it's mostly just that those games are fucking popular. But those were the biggest or fastest selling console exclusive video game launch of all time, which means that this is probably in the top 3 or 4 or something like that. I mean, I don't even know like what other would really be out. It might be second.
It might be second. Yeah, it might be. I mean, people are saying
Zelda.
It tied with Pokemon. I'm sure Nintendo knows exactly which one technically won.
Smash.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And I mean, there's so much we can talk about here. We have a write-in we'll get to about kind of something future related to Zelda, but Zelda was not this. Zelda was not this at all.
I have got a little bar graph for you. I don't know if you want to share it somehow on the screen, but this is the Legend of Zelda worldwide sales, a bar chart of each of the sales, and so that is at the end. It's all the sales up through Breath of the Wild, and then you have a fucking math brain. You can see numbers where Tears of the Kingdom would go with it. Okay, so you guys might be seeing this on the screen here. Zelda games actually they sell good. I mean, compared to most video games, most video games don't hit 5 million sales. But especially for console exclusives, like Zelda is relatively consistent, but it's actually not huge. It's not huge.
I want to say
Zelda is one of the most important franchises, but it doesn't really sell.
It's what we talk about when we talk about Metroid. It is not like Metroid Dread has
sold tiny.
Metroid's tiny, but Metroid Dread has sold roughly akin to a lot of Zelda games, which is fucking crazy because Zelda is Zelda.
Yes.
When you think of Nintendo, you think of Mario, which sells crazy. Yes. And you think of Zelda, but Zelda has never been this. And I think there was actually a quote from Fujibayashi saying, or maybe it was Aonuma, one of the two, in an interview, basically saying this is it. This is the series moving forward. So if you
and actually I thought we were going to talk about that earlier of Aonuma's, I think it was Aonuma saying, this sort of like a more open approach to game design is where we want to take the franchise. And one of the interesting things that I heard from one of the pre-release developer interviews is that this is what they were kind of hoping for the series to be, is emergent puzzle gameplay where your choices are how your brain interacts with the world, rather than the world being designed and your brain needing to fit into square block and square hole. Instead, it's put whatever you want in the hole as long as it goes in the hole, and you can dirty brain that as much as you want. But I think that is really cool. I hope that there is another B team of Zelda designers at some point that take another approach to Zelda. I mean, it's what Aonuma is saying, that this is going to be what the series is going forward. I think you can kind of mentally project that's what it'll be for a foreseeable future, another
10 years, 15
decade,
years.
yeah,
Yeah.
but not forever. And I think will in that time be other Zelda games that approach the series in a different way, which I think is a very good thing and healthy thing for the series. But I like the idea that they have kind of reached the point that they were wanting to for so many games of allowing the player's mind to be the puzzle key rather than there being like literal keys that you need to find. I think it's really, really special. And obviously it's working. I mean, Zelda sells as much as Mario and Pokemon now.
It sells more than Mario. I mean,
yeah.
the only Mario thing that would outsell this is Mario Kart. So
Yes,
I don't think it's a stretch to say that Zelda as a franchise sells better than platforming Mario. And that's crazy.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it already happened with Breath of the Wild.
Sure. Yes.
With Odyssey. Breath of the Wild was better than Odyssey. So we're already at that point, and it's it's crazy to see. Yeah. And I mean, here we have a question really quick. We'll just get into this real quick. Anastasia asked, "Do you think Tears of the Kingdom DLC will be mostly in the sky or more quests in the depths? There's so much already, I just can't fathom what the actions will be." And this kind of goes into like the larger debate of like what the next Zelda will be, because I don't really know how they can top this. To answer the DLC question kind of quickly, there's obviously going to be DLC for this game. It sold 10 million copies. They're gonna get another $20 out of you, $30, whatever it is. I think depths is an obvious thing. There's a lack of content down there, as we were talking about. Yeah. But for Zelda to sell this much, and we've talked about this I think on every episode of the podcast so far, I don't know how they top this. I genuinely, people are going to expect this every time now. And we talk about like studios having too much pressure, like Starfield has too much pressure on Bethesda. I can't even imagine how stressed out Aonuma and Fujibayashi are, or even just like the regular coders on the team. I cannot even imagine the stress these people are feeling. Also, one last thing, I'm going all over the place. I forgot to bring this up earlier. We were wondering what exactly Monolith Soft did for Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah. That's right.
They did tweet out. This is what they tweeted, translated through Twitter. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, for which Monolith Soft was involved in the contracted developments of game design, programming, and graphics, was released. So they made the game. They made at least a large part of the game. I think that's fair to say. It's also not the most helpful.
Probably what that means is that they were working alongside the Nintendo EPD team.
Right. They were just part of the development team, basically.
Yeah. It is, but
co-developed.
They're just people that are part of Monolith Soft that were part of the development team for this. I don't think there's like, okay, you guys do this, you guys do this. Like, if you're working on graphics and what was the other thing you mentioned?
Game design.
Yeah, graphics and game design. Guys, that's the fucking video game. So like, I don't want to oversell what Monolith Soft did. It's impressive that they're working alongside this, but I think that they're assisting EPD. Like, if this is a Nintendo EPD game, Monolith Soft is just like a part of that. And I think they're probably part of the reason why it was able to be as great as it was, because putting more very skilled people on a game this massive and complex,
above anything else, they are Nintendo's most powerful studio in terms of getting the most out of hardware.
Yes,
I think that's definitely where their expertise lies.
Yep.
But getting back to the sales numbers, this Zelda game is selling on par, potentially even better. We just know the number 10 million. It could be more.
Yeah.
It's selling on par with what is already the third best-selling Pokemon game. Pokemon, I would argue, aside from GTA maybe and Call of Duty, is the biggest fucking video game franchise. It is the biggest media franchise of all time.
Yeah, made the most money.
Yeah, it's made
IP.
Right.
More than fucking Star Wars, more than Harry Potter, more than all that shit.
For Zelda to come out in the past 6 years and completely transform itself, the critic reviews are one thing. 10 out of 10s, that's great. But to
Skyward Sword got 10 out of 10s.
Right. It shouldn't have. I think it's like a 9 out of 10. I think Skyward Sword is great. But for them to turn it around, not that it was in a bad place necessarily, like you said, 5 million sales for a game is good, but for them to turn it around and make it this phenomenon, this is a system seller more than probably any other Nintendo game. And to be fair, I think a lot of people would argue Zelda always has been a system seller. Twilight Princess for a lot of, well, I mean, Wii Sports sold the Wii, but like Ocarina of Time, like these like temple. Talking about what you were saying earlier, Zelda's probably closest to like Sony first party in terms of production value. For them to turn it around and make it this worldwide phenomenon is very impressive. And I'm excited to see where this caps off at. I was expecting it to do well, obviously. I didn't think it would outsell Breath of the Wild. I think that's totally possible now, though.
I think it is knowing the momentum, but I also think there's a solid chance that it doesn't top that because
it could cap off within 6 months.
Because it doesn't have as long of a life cycle to continue to sell on. Breath of the Wild, I think, reached the heights that it did because it launched with a system, obviously, which is what catapulted it to its fame. Also, it's a great game and it tops lots of game lists, including recently this week GQ's top 100 games of all time, as ranked by experts, and number one, Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom, I think, deserves to sell more, but I don't know if it will, only because it doesn't have 6 years of console to sell on. The Switch will not be selling consoles in 6 years. It will stop selling consoles in, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years max. Like, it just doesn't have that time. But because of its momentum, it might match it. But I would err on it being similar but slightly below.
I think, okay, so for reference, obviously it was on the graph, but Breath of the Wild has sold 29.81 million units as of this most recent quarterly update. So as of March. So basically that game is done, I would imagine. Yeah. I think it'll probably edge towards 30 million. It'll probably hit 30 million, but it's done, basically. You're right that it won't have as much time, and I'm looking at the top 10 best-selling Nintendo Switch games. Most of them are games that released before 2020. In fact, the only games that released after 2020 are Pokemon Scarlet Violet and Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Yes, which was in 2020.
Right. Right now, number 10 is Ring Fit Adventure at 15 million.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tears of the Kingdom is going to pass that. It's going to pass Super Mario Party, which is at 19 million.
I think it'll
probably end up passing.
That's so fucking funny. Super.
Yeah, 19 million. Well, I didn't even say number 9 is New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe at 16 million.
That's hilarious.
Horrible. Even though that game is great. No shade to New Super. But I think it's safe to expect this game to at least sell 25 million. Which will put it in the top 6 Switch games, right above Mario Odyssey, and Sword in between Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think Scarlet and Violet will probably continue selling. I think that will probably end up passing Sword and Shield. I think that's a safe estimate. But I don't know. Obviously, Animal Crossing was an enigma, and it.
Yes.
First of all, the quality of the game does not represent its sales numbers, and that was because of COVID. It's sitting at number 2 with 42.
What is the best Animal Crossing game?
But no, of course not.
Well, it is. But...
It isn't. Maybe now. When it launched, it wasn't. But anyway, that aside, I don't think it's impossible for this. If Scarlet and Violet can sell 10 million in 3 days and then go on to sell 22 million in 8 months, I don't think it's impossible for this game to sell 30 million copies in 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, Nintendo's the Switch has changed the trajectory of almost every one of their franchises in like so irreversible ways that it's like hard to imagine before. Obviously, Zelda is like the key example, but almost every entry on the Switch has like skyrocketed the potential sales figures, and meeting those in the future, I don't know if will be completely possible. Who knows if the next system will be as popular as the Switch, or if the games on it will be as good. This is weird forward projection, but I really like that we now have a larger table of like 15 million, 20 million selling plus Nintendo IP. Because before this, it was platforming Mario, Pokemon, Mario Kart, and Smash had those numbers. And now we're adding Animal Crossing and Zelda, which were still one of Nintendo's biggest franchises.
And Mario Party.
In terms of sales, and Mario Party.
And
in terms of sales, Jesus, things weren't matching that. And now we have like more franchises. I really think that's like so healthy for the system. And of course, it's still like the trickle down economics of all of this. Kirby's selling way better than it ever has. Metroid selling not huge amounts, but better than it ever has. Fire Emblem selling a lot better than it ever has. Like, well, actually, Engage is not
engaged, but
but Three Houses set a new bar.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, and of course, Xenoblade, like an uphill climb for that.
Basically, every Nintendo franchise is selling better than it did before.
Exactly.
I don't think there's a single one that's selling.
Luigi's Mansion 3.
Even Pikmin 3 Deluxe is the best-selling Pikmin game.
Oh, easily, yeah. And 4, go Pikmin 4. Oh,
we'll see how that goes. I'm getting excited now that when there's a question later on about like most anticipated game. I'm excited for Pikmin 4. That's gonna be a sleeper hit this summer. I'm excited for that. But
it's not gonna be a sleeper hit on the Nintendo Select podcast because we're gonna be talking the fuck out of Pikmin 4.
But so yeah, Tears of the Kingdom, 10 million, absolutely crazy. We'll keep you updated on any sales updates. I mean, we just had an update for their quarterly earnings, so I guess it would be end of July. We'll probably get another update from them for ending in June. So it'll probably be a while before we know more numbers, but I expect it to be at least close to 20 million by then, maybe above it.
Easily.
So very exciting stuff for Nintendo. Round of applause. Holy crap.
Yep.
But I'm actually going to move around these stories here because I was going to talk about something else and then talk about the U.S. Sales numbers for this month. But we're already talking about sales numbers, so we might as well.
Yeah.
So the U.S. Circana group, not MPD anymore. Don't know why they changed their names. Hate that.
It's the same thing. It's the same company.
It's the same company. They just changed their name to Circana now instead of MPD.
Circana?
Circana Group, yes.
How do you spell that?
Circana. Circana.
Circana.
I don't know why. MPD was much more fun to say, but okay, Circana Group.
Okay, whatever.
Of course, we have the sales data for games in the U.S. We'll run down the top 10 in a second, but most notably, Switch was number 1 this month in April.
Yeah.
This is for April, of course. PS5, I'm not sure what kind of streak it was on. It was on a pretty big streak, though. So for Nintendo to come back in April, before the game even launched, the game being Tears of the Kingdom, and take that number 1 spot, I think that's very funny. Of course, the Mario movie existed, and that definitely pushed units. And then we had the Tears of the... It makes me wonder if that's why they released the Tears of the Kingdom OLED, specifically 2 weeks before, so it would get like the April sales, but then also May. They probably... I don't know if they care too much about that. Either way, it's going to sell in this fiscal quarter. But, So yeah, Switch was number 1 this year. Or this month, I should say, sorry. Which, it's been a while, I think.
And that's not a bad thing though, because like
right, it's 6 years old.
It's crazy that it's still even selling commensurate to the next gen consoles and handily beating the serious consoles.
Right, and well, and to the point though of whether or not Tears of the Kingdom has enough time on the shelf, the Switch is still selling like a new console, clearly.
Yes.
So,
I mean, by the time we get their May numbers, there'll be one more. Because I bought my second Switch.
Yeah, boy. You didn't get the special edition. You're weird. You're weird for that.
So,
You're weird for not wanting the special edition one.
I just like basic consoles. I actually don't like any like.
I mean, that's fine. That's fine. But why'd you wait until they released a nice one? Damn.
Look at that.
Did you not transfer your stuff over?
Game. No, not yet.
Okay.
I don't know how much I will. Yeah. I've got so many goddamn games on there.
It's annoying. It's really annoying. That's number 1 wish for the next console next to trophies. But figure out a better system transfer process, please.
No, not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen.
Nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's ever gonna happen to me, Tucker. I'm gonna be miserable.
They're not gonna have achievements. I saw your fucking tweet earlier, like, man, if a Nintendo console had achievements, you'd never hear from me again. I'm like,
that would recontextualize the way I play video games if they added trophies in it.
Jesus,
it would literally change my life. It will change my life.
Christ,
I'm not. That would be more exciting than any video game announcement. I'm not even joking. That would literally be, dude. I want trophies so bad. Give me some goodies. But going back to the Circana numbers, we'll run through the top 10. We'll make this a thing every month because it's only once a month, and it's fun to see like what's competing in the top 10. So number 10, and Nintendo games do not include digital sales, worth noting. Number 10 is Mario Kart 8 for the month of April, which
Mario Kart 8, Minecraft, and GTA 5. Godspeed the consistently selling video games.
Right. Well, actually. Easy Alleys, we talked about them last week. They used to always cover MPD, and that's when I kind of like learned about MPD and gotten into sales numbers. I remember back then, and to be fair, that was like 5 years ago. Minecraft and GTA were always in the top list. Neither of those, actually, sorry. Minecraft is number 13. GTA is not on this. Very surprising. But unrelated, we did just have Take-Two.
GTA 5's not selling huge anymore, but it's still probably selling fine.
Well, yeah, number 20 is Super Mario 3D World, which is funny. But not a news story because it doesn't really matter to us, but Take-Two said something in their investor thing today, basically confirming that GTA 6 is coming out next fiscal year for them. So
really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
They basically said we expect record sales next year. And I mean that could be
any game's going to do that.
They're probably now GTA 6 will be announced later this year, I imagine, then get delayed.
Yeah.
It's not coming out next year, let's be honest. But it's kind of crazy we're actually getting to that point now. I was talking to my girlfriend. GTA 6,
doesn't feel real.
That is going to be the biggest game of all time, bro. I don't even like GTA, but I'm so interested to see how well that game does.
I've never been I mean, I was alive, obviously, for multiple GTA games, but I didn't know about GTA 5 like actively until multiple years after that game came out. And I never got super into it. I've also never played any GTA game other than 5, but that game came out so goddamn long ago that
10 years this year.
It's hard to believe that we're getting GTA 6 because it feels like that game will just never happened because GTA 5 is the biggest game of all time, and like why
This is
would they
gonna be the
bother?
second. This is
But
gonna be the next one. It's happening.
Jesus, history is currently being made because we're playing what might be the greatest game of all time currently. But GTA 6.
GTA 6 will sell over 100 million copies.
Oh yeah,
Dude,
by
okay,
all means,
dude,
it will.
Dude, here's the thing. Yeah, I was trying to figure out. I think I know GTA 5 broke a record for like I think it made like $1 billion in like 24 hours or something.
Yeah,
which,
something ridiculous.
Honestly, like that's ridiculous. But I imagine that's probably pretty quaint numbers by what it could make now. I imagine if Tears of the Kingdom can do 10 million in 3 days, GTA 6 can do 20 million in 3 days, probably.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, not enough of GTA.
Especially if it also launches on PC at the same time as console versions, which is a notorious problem.
Oh yeah, GTA 5 didn't do that.
Yeah.
You're right.
Which they can't fucking do that again.
Well, did Red Dead 2 yeah, Red Dead 2 is on PC. It came out later though. Red Dead 2 was later on PC.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, back to the top 10 Circana. So number 10 was Mario Kart, not counting digital, so which means it would be higher. Number 9 was FIFA 23. Number 8, wow, Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. We knew this was the best-selling Mega Man game, or it was about to become the best-selling Mega Man game of all time, so crazy to see that up there. Number 7, PGA Tour. Number 6, Hogwarts Legacy sticking in there. Number 5, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Number 4, Resident Evil 4 sticking in there as well. Number 3, MLB The Show 23. And then number 2, I was surprised this was so high. Dead Island 2. I'm surprised that game. Oh. I haven't seen anybody talking about it, so shout out. They actually released a game that was good after being in development by 5 different developers. And then number 1 was Star Wars Jedi Survivor. No surprise.
Yeah.
Obviously next month Zelda will be number 1.
What's interesting about this? Well, of course it will be.
There's no other game coming out in May.
These numbers and talking about them is I have kind of just come around to like realizing the scope of what games actually sell well, and it's mostly games that I don't play. And I made a backlogged list of back to I think 1995, each of the top 10 highest selling games of each year. And I've only played like 25% of the list because half of the list or more each year is fucking sports games and always Call of Duty, and then some like weird ones that like don't like. There's a lot of sports franchises that were selling really well that just don't exist anymore, like NCAA and like WWF games and like I don't know. You still get like mostly COD, Madden, FIFA, 2K, and then like things like Hogwarts Legacy that are like IP based that sell really big. And then occasionally you'll get like real games like Elden Ring and like
real games, yeah,
cracking into that top 10. But I think it's really interesting to think about in the bubble of the games industry on the more like journalism side. There's a huge subsect of most games most video games that people play are not the games that are getting nominated for Game of the Year. It's mostly they're playing their fucking FIFAs and their Maddens and their CODs.
It's just interesting to think. There's a big disconnect between the gamers, which we are, and then the gamers.
The gamers.
the true gamers.
Yes.
All right. Now, last news story. I didn't know if I should include this in like the major section here. I'm holding a bottle cap out, by the way. I'm just fucking around with that. I don't know. Major news story. Why are you looking at me like that?
You just started fucking mumbling. I didn't know what was going on.
Fucking around with this bottle cap. I don't know.
Oh, you fucking with a bottle cap. Oh, this motherfucker with a bottle cap.
No, but I didn't know to include this in the major news stories, but I thought it was really interesting because I don't know if you saw this. Splatoon 3 announced its next season, the Sizzle season for summer here. And maybe we can launch this into a broader discussion about Splatoon 3 and its content rollout. Have you watched the trailer for this sucker?
No, I haven't, yeah.
Okay, so they're adding the stuff you would expect. They're adding a new catalog with cosmetics and emotes, or not emotes, like the victory poses. They're adding new table turf cards. I don't know anybody that fucking plays that mode.
But you know what? They gotta do it.
They gotta do it. It's cool that they're doing it, I guess, sure. I think they also added online for that finally last season. Of course, there's a new map. There's a returning map with Muscle Forge Fitness, I believe is the name.
New map?
From Splatoon 2. And then, there's a new map that's like set inside of a mall. New weapons. They're adding a paintbrush.
There's been multiple mall maps, hasn't there been?
There's Arowana Mall, but that was like outside. That was like a strip mall. Yeah. Big difference.
My bad.
But there's some new weapons. The paintbrush, which is just an ink brush but bigger, and the super scope. The NES super scope is a weapon now, which is cool because the first weapon added to Splatoon 1 was the InZap. So kind of cool to finally get that in there. So all that stuff you expect. However, and this is, I should say, starting on June 1st, this is all coming out. There's something, and as well as a new Salmon Run stage, but who the fuck plays Salmon Run?
I love Salmon Run. What the fuck's wrong with Salmon Run?
Salmon Run's good, but no. However,
paintbrush is really funny, by the way.
Yeah, it is good. They're adding something else that I need to like some more information on. But they're adding
watching the trailer right now.
They're adding challenges to the game. But these aren't like this isn't like a challenge mode. This isn't a new online mode, Tucker. They're adding a new online mode. From what I can tell. At first I was confused. It's like, is this local only or something? No, it seems to be an online mode. And I'm reading through the tweets here. The first challenge on the schedule is the new season challenge, celebrating the start of the Sizzle season. There will be 3 play windows, June 2nd from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m., June 3rd from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., and June 3rd from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. All times are in Pacific time. So first of all, continuing the Nintendo bullshit with limited times. But what these modes are, it's almost like in Halo, they have like the fun modes, like the Fiesta modes, where it's like all Trizukas, or it's foggy on this map, or it's like anti-gravity.
Mm-hmm.
This is such a cool thing to add, and they kind of like tucked it away in this trailer, and we can launch this in, like I said, a conversation about this game's support. I haven't played Splatoon since December. This is the exact kind of thing to get me back in.
Yeah,
but just this is like some Overwatch tier shit that they did with this game, man. I'm gonna be honest. And I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. The Splatoon's main draw and the way it kept me consistently playing was the weekly content.
Yeah, with Splatoon 2 specifically.
Well, Splatoon 1 as well. Splatoon 1 had just as much, yeah.
But not Splatoon, specifically not Splatoon 3.
Specifically not Splatoon 3, yeah.
Yes.
Splatoon 3 has all the content come out at once every 3 months. And I think for like maps, that's fine, but not for weapons. And cosmetics, that's fine too. But like you're releasing 2 new maps, a salmon run stage, new online challenge modes, all of this on one day. That's not a good way to keep player engagement.
Yeah.
So it's just disappointing to see how they do this. And even more disappointing to see they're still doing those windows for this challenge mode are 2 hours a piece.
It's so weird.
9 p.m. Okay, this is all Pacific time, so this is where I'm at. I can play these challenge modes. These are the time frames from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Okay, that's late at night. Most people are in bed at that. I'm awake, but most people are in bed at that point, or going to bed. They're not gonna fucking play Splatoon 3.
Yeah.
5 a.m. to 7 a.m. Most people are either asleep or going to work, and then 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. That's fair. But most people are still at work at that time. This is fucking terrible. Day? What?
Is it on a weekday or a weekend?
Well, it's June 2nd, June 3rd, and June 3rd again for the second time. So it's within a 24-hour period. So it's technically 2 days. But it's just like, what the fuck, Nintendo? Just have confidence in your player count and player base to just add a permanent mode that you change out once a week. Have it be this new menu icon that you click on, and this week it's Trizukas. And if you don't like it, that's fine. Don't play it. But next week it's gonna be something new and different. That's so interesting.
Yes.
But they're doing it in this fuck backwards way that makes it so frustrating. And what if it's the most fun thing I played in Splatoon 3 in months, which it would be because I haven't played it since December. It's only there for 2 days. For 2 hours at a time.
It's
what
weird.
The fuck?
Yeah, I mean, so I haven't played Splatoon since I beat the campaign, which was a week and a half after it came out, and not because I didn't like the game. I think it's outside of its weird post-launch content, I think it's easily the best Splatoon game.
Mm-hmm.
But
easily,
especially because I have this podcast with you, I think we should make an effort to play in each of these windows. It's gonna be weird because of the weird times, and especially because they're so limited.
We'll try to squad up.
Let's make a fucking event out of this. Let's invite our community members. Maybe we're on Discord. Maybe we're hanging out. Maybe we stream it. I think it'd be really fun to make an effort to experience the Splatoon 3. What post-launch content Splatoon 3 is getting. I think it'd be good to make an effort for that because this could be very fun. You made the comparison to Overwatch earlier, which I think is interesting. I think Overwatch did it in a really good way. I think one of the best things that they did in like later life Overwatch 1 updates was the arcade mode. And that you could just like go in and like play a bunch of weird fucking modes and do like the mode that the game launched with, which is like 6 people can choose the same character. And like that was actually a really good update to that game.
Yeah, no, arcade mode in Overwatch is awesome. I was more referring to like the general idea of messing up rollout of content.
Oh, sure. It's an Overwatch 2 thing. It's not an Overwatch thing.
Well, you can argue those last 3 years of Overwatch 1. We're not going to say. Yeah. Either way, they both fucked up in different ways. But yeah, this is probably the biggest update they've added to the game so far, with this new mode and obviously new samurai map and 2 new maps.
But you can visit you can visit the
Splatoon 1 Plaza. Sorry, that was the biggest update. Yeah. And of course, going into the summer, we should be expecting probably in the next Direct or maybe just in June they'll drop a trailer for the DLC. Which I know you're not a DLC guy, Tucker, but I will be playing that.
I will play it. I will play it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you played Octo
I'll make an
Expansion,
effort.
even though you didn't like it. You said, but or you didn't like it very much.
Yeah.
That's definitely a hot take. Most people would argue Octo Expansion is the best piece of Splatoon content.
I don't know.
we can get into that another day. But that is it for the news. Let's get into listener questions. Of course, you can ask us questions in our Discords. You can my Discord, Tucker's Discord. Doesn't really matter where. Just do it. Or in the community post. That's the best way. Or in the comments of this video. So leave us questions. Like I said, they can be news related, general Nintendo related, general gaming, general questions. And we'll start off with a general question, just to lighten the mood here a little bit, Tucker. We've been talking about games for 2.5 hours already. Perfect. King Dilly asked, "What is your go-to fast food joint?" This is the kind of question I like.
Oh, you asked that earlier. I forgot to fucking think about it.
Oh. So I'll talk what you think about it. So I'm a heftier lad, Tucker. I'm a heftier lad. I try not to eat out too much. When I worked a regular like retail job, I worked at Walmart. I would pretty much always describe like one of the wraps from the little deli section they have, or something fresh from the deli. That food was fucking dog shit. The wraps were okay actually, but every once in a while I'd go to like the Subway there or McDonald's. I grew up. My grandma fucking grew me up on McDonald's, and I enjoy McDonald's. But for me, as in my adult life, I live on my own now with my girlfriend, and of course we have another roommate. Adult life, you gotta pinch your pennies a little bit. Taco Bell, easily number one. It's not even close.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah.
I never ate Taco Bell until I moved out on my own. Never. The thought of it was honestly gross to me. Because I knew my college student brother, he lived off Taco Bell, and he was talking about like, it was like the shittiest, cheapest food. So I never like really wanted to eat it. But then I was like, wait a second, this is cheap, and it's not even that it's just cheap. It's actually pretty good. So what I get, lay out the Bo meal here, in the Taco Bell app.
The Bo meal, I will order tonight. I have to go to fucking work from 1 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. The taco, I just looked it up on my maps. The Taco Bell near me is open.
Maybe don't show your exact location.
It just says fucking Taco Bell and home.
Yeah. Sure.
Is open till 1 a.m. So I will go get whatever Bo. Okay. I'm gonna write it fucking down right now.
Okay, he's actually this is
next week. I will come back with a Bo meal review.
Okay. So
I ate the fucking Travis Scott McDonald's meal. Now I'm eating the fucking Botox Media, the BoTalksGames Taco Bell meal. Let's go, the Bo meal.
So, and you have to keep in mind the cost of the items here.
Bo meal.
You have to keep in mind the cost of the items here.
Number one.
And normally me and my girlfriend will get the same thing because it's just cheap and that works out. So money is a factor here. So it's not. I'm not gonna say this is what the fuck do you have flying around your room? This isn't the
fucking gnat. What the hell?
This isn't the best, highest quality fast food. I think in terms of like Wendy's isn't fucking cheap, but I think Wendy's is probably better. But Taco Bell, this is the meal. I don't know if this is exclusive to the Taco Bell app. They have the Cravings box, which is
okay. Do I need to download the Taco Bell app?
You might have to. It's like an online exclusive kind of thing. But you can get the Crunch Wrap in there. I always get the Crunch Wrap. Yeah. I get the beefy 5-layer burrito. Now the beefy 5-layer.
Wait, I gotta write this down. Crunch Wrap.
Crunch Wrap Supreme, and then the beefy 5-layer burrito. The beefy 5-layer, not the best. It has like their nacho cheese inside of it, which I like, but it's not good. Obviously, this isn't healthy for you.
We're talking about fast food.
Of course.
Stop making fucking caveats.
It's dog shit food. It's unhealthy for you, but it is cheap. No, but I get that. Normally, I'll save that for later. Heat it up on the stove. It actually heats up pretty well. Weirdly, wouldn't expect that from fast food. Then they have like little nacho chips with that. You can get like I think they have like little cheesy Fiesta potatoes. I never tried those, but I get the little nacho chips with the dipping sauce. Those are good.
Nacho chips.
And then of course you gotta get the Baja Blast with that. Now Baja Blast, I've bought separately. Like sometimes in the summer, Walmart will sell it in like a 12-pack. It doesn't hit the same. You gotta earn it. It's gotta be part of your Cravings box meal.
You gotta earn it. You gotta drive to the goddamn thing. You gotta work your thumbs out.
Yeah, it's a big deal. You gotta earn that Baja Blast. If you just have it sitting around your house, it's not special. And then Tucker recently, that's usually what I get, and it's just that. And that's normally enough for me. However, they do have a limited time food sometimes. Right now they have nacho fries. Nacho fries are fantastic. So get nacho fries. Sometimes they're cold though, which isn't great. But,
no, I don't want the Taco Bell app to track my movement across other fucking apps. Stop.
That is the current Bo meal, and that.
Total... Oh, sorry. What was the last thing? Let me add Baja Blast, and then you said the nacho fries.
Yeah, nacho fries. That's a separate item, and I don't always get that because it's limited time. But I've been getting that recently because it's there.
Are we in that limited time? Because I got to experience true.
It might be depending on location, but they probably have it. So that total right there is like $8 or $9. That's a lot of food.
I like the sound of that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, dude.
Now, I might be a college student. I might have student debt to pay off. I can swing $9 worth of Taco Bell.
Exactly. So
I just bought Katamari. We Love Katamari reroll plus Royal Reverie with a bonus bucket hat, Katamari bucket hat for $40 today. I can swing that Taco Bell meal.
It's worth it. No, that's definitely my answer right now.
The reviews come next week, guys.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Tucker review next week. But what is your current?
And hey, go get it yourself if you want.
Yeah, the bow meal. And tell the employee that
it's
the Nintendo Select podcast so you're there to get the bow meal. But Tucker, what's your favorite?
We're gonna start getting all sorts of weird DMs like, "Oh, have you heard about the Botox Media meal? It's sweeping the nation." My favorite fast food, the one that I enjoy the most, and I think it's frankly one of the most quality, Cane's. I'm a Cane's.
Oh, I don't have that near me.
Cane's is the most consistent goddamn fast food on the planet, and people always talk about how they don't really change the recipe for like McDonald's meals and stuff. And getting a Big Mac, getting a Big Mac. But I like McDonald's, but McDonald's has a variety of how hard it hits. Sometimes you get the freshest fucking fries with the perfect amount of salt, and
their burgers are dog shit, to be honest.
you can get a decent one sometimes,
but
also sometimes you get like kind of cold fries with either like not enough salt or too much salt. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like, I wanted a McDonald's experience. You know who never fucks up their goddamn food? Cane's. Because these guys, they do one thing and they do one thing only. They do chicken fingers. There's 3 options on the Cane's menu. You're either getting there's 4 options. There's 3 fingers, 4 fingers, 6 fingers, or a sandwich, which is just 3 fingers on a bun. And the menu, as I said, limited. But these are the freshest, hottest. These chicken fingers are so good. And combined with, I don't know how they did this, but they made every item on their menu work into one palette that just everything complements each other. They got the sweet tea, the iced tea that goes with it. They got the Texas toast that's got a nice layer of butter on one side and it's perfectly toasted. It's always fluffy and warm. You got a tiny amount of coleslaw just to like sort of spice up what you're doing. And they got these crinkle cut fries that are always super fresh and they always got the perfect amount of salt on them. And then the cane sauce. The fucking cane sauce goes well with every item you're going to be putting on, except for don't put it on your coleslaw. It'd be kind of weird. But dip your fries in there, dip your Texas toast in there, you dip your chicken fingers in there, and then you wash down with. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Cane's is so goddamn good.
Unfortunately, the closest one to me is a 2-hour drive, so I don't think I'll be going to any Cane's soon. But maybe it's worth it. What are you talking? I don't have a car, so maybe I'll get a car.
Sure. The $10,000 Cane's meal.
Well, that's what was gonna be my question. A big part of Taco Bell being my number 1 is because of its price. How much is like your average Raising Cane's experience?
Like $13.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty average. Like, here's the thing, like there's obviously tiers. Like I said,
the 3-finger meal I think is like $9, like $8.75 or something like that. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it doesn't go higher than like $14 for like even the biggest.
And that's something I'm on the West Coast. I don't know if it's still like this on the East Coast. Obviously, when I was a child, I wasn't really paying attention to prices. But what I've learned is that fast food burgers, low-key not worth it. Because, like McDonald's is cheap.
Hey,
McDonald's is cheap.
I'll dig a fucking Whopper. You give me a good goddamn Whopper?
I haven't had BK in probably 15 years. But with Wendy's, you're spending, upwards of $15-20 for your meal. At that point, just go to a burger place.
A normal restaurant.
Yes, go to an actual or same with Five Guys. If you go to Five Guys, you're spending, you're spending $12 on your double cheeseburger. Then you're probably gonna get a milkshake or something.
Fucking expensive.
It is, and I'm gonna be honest. This is unrelated. I don't like the attitude. They feel stuck up. I don't like it. I don't like going in there.
You got peanuts in your life.
No. It's when I go in there, and this is why I love mobile apps because I don't have to fucking interact with anybody. But I'll be like, I'll get a cheeseburger, and they're like, what do you want on it? I'm like, I don't know. Let me think. They're always the most, and I get it. They're busy, but I don't like the energy that Five Guys gives off. They do make good burgers.
Am I doing the deluxe build your own cravings?
No, just the regular cravings box,
okay,
baby.
Okay,
easy.
All right. I'm just double checking. Any other fast food restaurants we gotta like?
Yeah, we need to cover our bases here.
I don't really go to anything else though.
Yeah, well, I'm within walking distance of a Taco Bell, so I'm just like, oh, bet.
I see.
Yeah, that is also a big factor.
Yeah.
Like if I was doing like an official taste tier list, Taco Bell would not even be in the top 3 probably. But price, convenience, distance to my house.
Yeah.
I definitely eat it the most. Put it that way. Now McDonald's. What I've been doing recently is we'll just get their drinks. I love a good McDonald's shake. That shit's fire. They also have those mocha fraps. Those are also very good. I don't really get their food that often. To be honest with you. I like the nuggets. That's always been my favorite McDonald's item. But it's not really a meal.
Nuggets, yeah.
No.
Did you hear a McNugget like gave a kid like 6-degree burns and they had to go to fucking hospital?
I did not hear that.
That's the thing that happened to someone recently. Crazy.
Be careful of those nuggets, boys. Watch out. They're coming for you. Wow, we actually talked about fast food for like 20 minutes, I feel like.
We gave a real discussion about that, you know? Yeah. We're not giving half-assed answers on this fucking show, okay? This is a long podcast. If you ask us a question, we're going to answer it. Yeah. There's no faffing about here.
There's no faffing about.
You're going to get an answer.
Well, look forward to the Tucker Bow Meal review next week from Taco Bell.
I got to figure it out. Off the air, I need you to help me fucking figure this out.
Yeah. Well, one final thing. Not to keep going about Taco Bell. Their reward system and their app is also great. So I'll just order for my.
I don't know how much Taco Bell I'm going to be eating.
Listen, I'm just saying. Me and my girlfriend, I'll order her food with mine. And I mean, you know, gentleman I am, I'll pay for it sometimes. Not always. Oh, I don't want to be too nice. I don't want to be too nice.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Don't want the power to go
to yeah, exactly. the points, they roll over so fast. I eat Taco Bell probably once a week, which isn't even like I feel like some people eat fast food way too much, and that's fine. That's what you gotta do.
I don't even eat out once a week.
Yeah, me neither. Especially not actually going out to a place and sitting down. I never do that. But I'll say like once a week we're just like, let's get Taco Bell. It's easier. We don't have to cook anything. But the rewards. Every 2 times we get Taco Bell, you get like a free chalupa or something. You get a free Baja Freeze or something. They have like these weird like nacho fly or like not nacho chip platters you can get for free just from the rewards. Best reward point service I've seen for a fast food place.
Sure.
Jesus Christ. Let's talk about video games again, Tucker. This is what I want this podcast to be.
Yes.
This is exactly the energy I want, though. This is perfect. All right. Let's get into it. So, Mythic Mara's asked, what is your opinion on the GBA? And they wrote some other stuff like, oh, depending on like, you know, video games, the hardware itself, homebrewing. I grew up with the GBA. I still remember when I was like 4 years old going to Kmart with my grandma, and she bought me and my older sister specifically it was the GBA SP that came with Zelda 1. So I grew up with Zelda 1 as well. I think that was actually the first.
I thought that was ported to GBA.
Yeah. So I think the GBA SP was probably actually my first console that was mine. Obviously we had like an N64 and GameCube. But I love the GBA. It obviously has kind of a stunted library because they replaced it so fast with the DS. Yes. And I certainly am. I'm not going to go back and play a GBA physically. I'm not going to. If I want to play a cartridge GBA game, which I don't, first of all, I'm going to play it on a DS Lite.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It's just the best way to do it. Best screen, all that. But the library itself, despite being only there for like 3 or 4 years, pretty good. I would say. Has my favorite Metroid game. Golden Sun's awesome. I think Pokemon during that generation. I'm not the hugest on Gen 3, but I love Fire Red and Leaf Green, and you know Ruby Sapphire and Emerald are also great. It was a good time. Different time, but a lot of like weird stuff like DK King of Swing as well. I know Tucker's a big King of Swing fan.
I'm a big King of Swing guy.
Yeah.
So GBA is interesting to me because I actually just did a retrospective video with Abram about it. I wasn't actually. It was like fucking 4 months ago or whatever. So it was not recent, but semi recently. And so it got me thinking more about the Game Boy, the GBA in like a holistic way of it being a console that burned really fast and bright. A lot of short life cycle consoles have a handful of games, but you realize why they died off so quickly. The GBA just got like kicked in the pants by the DS.
It had no reason to die. They just forcibly replaced it.
Well,
Minish Cap came out after the DS. That's crazy.
But they also said the horse shit thing like they did
with the holy
trinity we're just going to be a third pillar. Bullshit. Especially because DS Lite plays GBA games, which is how I played
initially. Yeah, they both.
I've actually never seen an original DS. Everyone I knew only had
the
DS
fat
Lite.
thick boy.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
it's a fucking trapezoid. It's weird.
Yeah.
But I actually don't have extensive experience with GBA library. The only games that I've like put significant time into are Minish Cap, one of if not my favorite 2D Zelda, Metroid Fusion, which is maybe behind Dread, my favorite
They're close for me
Metroid
as
game.
well, yeah.
And then Gen 3, which is the only Gen 3, both Hoenn and Kanto, the only GBA games that I put significant time to when I was a kid. And all of which I like, even though I'm not a big Kanto guy, so Fire Red doesn't really do it for me. WarioWare on GBA, I really love that game. I think it's probably my favorite WarioWare, or maybe tied with Get Together. And then I like King of Swing a lot.
I
I
was
don't know
just
why.
joking. I feel like you must have mentioned that at some point for me to think that.
Yeah, I emulated that last year, and I was like, "Oh, this is real." I think phenomenal pixel art. I think that game looks gorgeous, and it's just so unique. It's kind of like a Clue Land spiritual successor. It's really weird. The other games I played on there, so I've mentioned what, like 6, 7 games at this point. I played through Sonic Advance. I thought it was fine. It's Mr. Pants is really fucking weird. It's a rare game. That's
Never heard of that.
strange. It's a puzzle game, maybe a rare. Kirby Nightmare and Dreamland remake of Kirby's Nightmare. Or no, Kirby's Dreamland.
Kirby's Nightmare.
Which is fine. I don't know. I'm not a Kirby guy. We'll talk about Kirby at some point. I don't really like Kirby.
You'll learn the right way, Tucker. I
Mario
was
Kart...
just like you 2 years ago, and I've learned. I've seen the light.
Well, we'll talk. The Kirby debate is coming, but it's also kind of not.
We'll get to it. We'll get to
it. Mario Kart Super Circuit. I think I played that on Switch Online.
It's the worst Mario Kart game.
That game fucking sucks, dude. Actually, no. I think it's better than Super Mario Kart.
I don't know.
I think it controls a little bit better. I think the visuals are slightly clearer, but it's still not good.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
And
then Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire. For some reason, I have a fucking like vehement hatred for that game. I don't even know why.
I always wanted to play that one. My experience with the GBA was actually a little different because, like I said, I got my first game was Zelda 1 on the GBA SP.
Yeah.
And I had, of course, like some hand-me-downs from my older sister and brother. I had it was like a Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle game that I played a lot. Obviously, Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku and Boo's Fury. Those are fantastic games, of course. Those are genuinely, Tucker. I know you don't watch anime or Dragon Ball or anything.
I've watched a lot of Dragon Ball. What the fuck are you talking about?
Have you?
I keep telling you this. I watched all of Dragon Ball and most of Kai.
You've seen OG Dragon Ball with Kid Goku.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
I have a newfound respect for you because most real Dragon Ball fans don't even do that.
I started fucking episode 1, bro.
Good. Well, okay. Anyway, unironically, those games are actually some of the best GBA games. Specifically, Boost Fury and Legacy of Goku 2. Really just Boost Fury, but fantastic game. I'm trying to think of some other stuff. There was also more Dragon Ball spinoffs.
Also Kururin. I love.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. You know, I played Zelda 1, and I remember very early for some reason, like when I was like 8 or 9 years old, I was on like the family computer, and I was asking my mom, "Can we buy Donkey Kong for Game Boy?" And it was just arcade Donkey Kong, but that's where I played that first.
Okay,
it was like the NES, the NES Classic Donkey Kong. So a lot of my experience with GBA was weird stuff, or not maybe necessarily first party stuff, like Legacy of Goku, and then just NES games like the Mario Advance series and all that. Mario 2, I think I played there for the first time, and even regular Super Mario Bros. Actually, now that I think about it, that's where I played that for the first time.
Sure.
So for me, the GBA SP or GBA in general was a lot of NES games and then some weird stuff. It wasn't until the Wii U, honestly, that I got more familiar with a lot of the first party stuff. I played Minish Cap some when I was a kid, but at some point I sold it. But I did like it, and then I finished it finally on Wii U when it came out there. Same with Metroid Fusion, same with Golden Sun. So like those real first party games, I played on Wii U. So it's harder for me to like. Obviously, I know they're GBA games, but I don't necessarily relate them to like a nostalgic period as much.
Yeah. Oh, sure. That's totally fair. Yeah. I whenever I play a game from an older era on different hardware, I make the conscious attempt to relate it back to the hardware it launched on and use that to sort of frame my knowledge of what that console was like. I've only played like 2 or 3 GBA games on actual GBA cartridges. Game Boy Advance Online, I think, as that expands, will continue to be the way that I experience most of these games. But then I emulated both. I emulated Minish Cap, and I played Fusion on Wii U and Kururin on Wii U. And I also emulated Sonic Advance and DK King of Swing. So I've got a reasonable. Now I'm looking at the GBA library on backlog. There's a good amount of games that I still want to try, but most of them are like RPGs that are long, and so I don't know. I don't know how much I'm really going to get into these, but I'm going to play Zero Mission at some point, and I'm excited to play that.
Yeah.
Because I'm a fucking masochist, I will play Kirby and the Amazing Mirror.
I haven't played that one myself.
Personally. And then I'd like to try some of the Mega Man games on there. But this is also it's a console that burned fast and bright, but that also means there's not a huge like important library. There's like a really solid upper crust.
I've already played most of the games I feel like I want to play on GBA.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's more JRPGs. There's Golden Sun 2 I haven't played. Sword of Mana I want to get to. I found that at a Goodwill once.
There's
Final Fantasy 6 is obviously on there. Oh, Fire Emblem 1 and Sacred Stones. I haven't played either of those.
Yeah.
So I guess those are probably actually the biggest omission.
And there's Castlevania games as well. A couple of them.
That's a franchise I'm pretty not familiar with. I know all the games,
but I've played Castlevania 1.
Me too. I played them on 3DS Virtual Console, and I played 1, 2, and 3, and I think also 4. I never beat them, obviously. But I've never played Symphony of the Night. That's
Drill Dozer. I also played fucking Drill Dozer.
Castlevania's a franchise I need to like get into, and we might be seeing Castlevania next week at Sony's event. People are saying.
We'll see.
Some Konami stuff. But yeah, GBA. I like the GBA for what it was. I respect it. But Squid Surge Tucker asked, and this is probably a quick one because I feel like we've been talking about this a lot. And we'll continue talking about this for the next 2 years because it's going to be a common talking point with future hardware coming up. Squid Surge asked, do you think Nintendo is hurting themselves by continuing to use the Switch? Absolutely not.
What?
So basically the idea here is that, and this is the gamer brain. Sorry, Squid Surge. I'm saying you have gamer brain.
Uh-oh. That's a bad thing to have.
That's a bad thing to have. It's this idea that because people online on Reset Era and you know, Family Boards and Twitter are unhappy with current Switch performance, that the Switch is like doing bad and it's gonna like hurt them.
Oh, yeah.
It's that. Yeah. It's not hurting them. In fact, I would argue the exact opposite. I think if they were and I've been saying being a YouTuber for the past 3 years has been so insufferable because every Nintendo channel is just like Switch 2, Switch Pro coming out 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. Yeah. 2023, please.
Nope.
I've been saying no for fucking years because there was, first of all, especially last year. That last year was like the tipping point for me. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? People were saying that. I remember specifically reading posts online, people saying there's no games coming out on Switch in 2022. That was easily the best year of the Switch in my opinion in terms of variety and quality of content.
Yeah.
There's no point. I would say right now with the lack of announced titles for the second half of 2023 right now is the first time it has ever made sense to even talk about new hardware. Yeah. People are only talking about new hardware and a new Switch because the Switch is underpowered for what it is at this point, but also because of patterns and life cycles of previous consoles. Sure. It's because the Switch is 5 or 6 years old now that people are like, oh, it's time for a new one.
Yeah.
That's obviously not the case anymore. These generations are not going to last the same way they used to, especially because this is the Nintendo's first combination console. They used to have two things. Hybrid. Now they have one. It's a hybrid. So obviously they're going to treat it a little differently. COVID happened, which I think will extend not only to Nintendo Switch's life cycle, but also PS5 and Series X.
Well, no, because those released at the end of 2020.
Sure, but game development, though. Game development was halted.
Oh,
games for PS5, I definitely think PS5 will last longer because of COVID.
Maybe.
But the point is,
I'm about that.
I certainly think so. I mean, we're just. I think that's why they shifted and made God of War and Horizon and all these things cross-gen because, obvious economic, realities and all that. We're just now. 2023 is basically the first fucking year of the PS5 with Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2. Which we'll talk about.
About Rift Apart.
Right, yeah, we had Rift Apart and Returnal. Yeah. Which both those games are fantastic. Rift Apart, I was a little soft one actually. Returnal,
I love Rift Apart.
It was really. I platinumed it. It was really good.
That's a great fucking platinum.
It is. It's fun platinum. But to your point though, I think releasing a new Switch console this year probably wouldn't hurt them that much. But if they had done what people wanted and released a new Switch console last year, that could have been fucking devastating. The Switch. Look at we just talked about the Circana numbers, not MPD. Switch was the best-selling console in the month of April of 2023, 6 years after it came out.
Yep.
There's no point. I have no doubt that if they dropped a new console right now, it would do well. I don't think it would hurt them necessarily, but there's no reason to.
Yeah.
All right. Skip ahead here one. because I'll save the last one for here. Kyle McRory asked, as someone who's mildly considering entering the Nintendo YouTube space as a creator, how would you go about starting? Do you have any regrets about the way you started your channels? Thank you. So this is a cool question, because me and Tucker both have vastly different experiences on YouTube. I realized that sounded kind of condescending.
No, well,
obviously Tucker, he's a baby YouTuber. I'm a big YouTuber here. No,
I'm happy with 130 views that my fucking 2.5 hour long Breath of the Wild retrospective video.
They did nice, yeah.
Proud of that.
Well, yeah, it's all in perspective of like your current size of your channel. I mean,
sure.
I'm still happy when anyone watches my YouTube content, but
yeah,
obviously at a certain point when my Zelda videos are getting 20K views, when they drop well below that, I'm like, oh shit, I'm doing something that I should give here. But obviously, knowing anybody watches my content is nice, and I'll say that actually, if you're not into creating content at all right now, don't expect a lot. Go into it expecting literally no views, and then just do it if you have fun. That's how I got started doing it. I assume that's how you got started doing it, Tucker. I started making YouTube videos specifically about Nintendo and YouTube videos in general when I just turned 14, so almost a decade ago now. It took me 7 years to even hit 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
I just did it because I like talking about Nintendo. You don't have to, and this is like the generic YouTube advice. You don't have to have the nicest webcam or microphone. You can just literally record it with your phone. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you want to create something, just start creating it. And you obviously try to put your own spin on it, but maybe you're not that creative, and that's completely fine. I don't think my content is that creative either. It's just me talking about Nintendo. But I feel like I have something to say about Nintendo, which is why I make content, which is why I enjoy doing it as well. So if you feel like you have a voice and you want to have a voice in the Nintendo community, do it and just keep at it. Keep it consistent.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Don't expect. I know this sounds a little bit weird, but don't expect too much out of yourself at first, because I have been doing YouTube for a decade as well. I started doing Minecraft videos and My Singing Monsters videos back in the day.
I need to see those.
Dragon Veil, and doing some sketches, and then I reviewed movies for a while, and then I did gameplay for a while, and then I started BLB, and for BLB we were doing both video game stuff and movie stuff, which I think the synergy of the two is what pushed us up to getting 1,000 subscribers in our first 2 years of doing the channel. And now we have split that, and I do a little bit less gaming content and more movie stuff. I've got a really weird up and down, but I think that the idea of being unique for your gaming content or for any content and it being quality, those are things I think that can come with time. I have some really low quality videos on the internet. One of the first videos on BLB is us recorded on Skype, and our mic quality is terrible, but it's a great discussion. I think that if you enjoy it and work over time to hone, okay, what works, what doesn't work, eventually you will find your content creating creative voice. And that will be what really you'll feel comfortable with. But that can only come with iteration, attempts, failing new shows, failing ideas, making something that's just a ripoff of someone else, but learning a little bit through that of how can you respond to community comments, how can you edit something together, what kind of intro and outro and voice do you bring to something. You just gotta try and balance with what works and doesn't work, and eventually you'll find something that is distinct and does give you that creative voice. But I mean, with the two of us, it took us 10 years to get to the point that we're at now. We're very different places in terms of our success, but I'm very comfortable with the unique voice that I bring to the content that I do. And I never would have gotten to that point if I didn't make shitty videos on my iPad mini and do unscripted movie reviews where I'm looking down at my crotch with my notes for 10 minutes. Like I needed those failures and those not unique content to get me to where I am. So if you have an idea, even if it is kind of a ripoff of someone else and it's not good quality, still do it. Because if you enjoy it, you will push yourself to make better content. But you got to make the bad content first. You got to get it out of the way. And in my opinion, don't delete it. I have my oldest YouTube video still up. I think as looking back to show how much you've grown, that kind of thing is, I think, perfect to inspire yourself to be better.
Sure. Most of my entire, well, for those that don't know, I made a new channel at the beginning of or end of 2021. So, and I don't know why it worked, but it did. Something just, the algorithm said thank you, and immediately that channel did pretty well, and that's this channel. But my old channel, which most of the not most, all of the videos are private on, just because I don't want people even finding that like on search. If they search BoTalksGames, I want them to find this. Which to your point, I think leaving them up to like see is important.
There's value to both. I'm not saying it's a terrible thing.
Right. If it was the same channel, I'd probably leave them up. But it's because of the 2-channel thing. I don't want any confusion there. But yeah, just your first videos are not going to be good, and if they are good, that's great. I mean, there are YouTubers that start out and somehow, maybe, I don't know if they have like video editing experience in school or something. They just do really well in front of a camera. It's gonna be a long time, to get comfortable just talking to a camera. That took me a long time. It's bad. Going back to those older videos, it's fucking bad. Because even I mean, I've basically been making the same type of video since I was 14. I remember, I think the first my first videos, I was copying PBG, Peanut Butter Gamer, like scripted kind of funny videos, and that obviously 14-year-old Bo,
I want to watch this
the most cringe possible thing you can imagine. It's so bad. It's so bad.
We gotta watch them at some point.
It's so bad. And then eventually I was like, wait a second, I like watching Game Explain and later on like Easy Allies and all these things. So I started, and I was so involved in the community, and like, even I didn't have an account there, and I know this forum is frowned upon in general. Obviously, I think it still exists. I don't even know. NeoGAF, like reading threads and just reading what people and learning about the industry and all that. I started doing like predictions videos for directs and like predictions for Nintendo and like what the future is. And that at that point, Iwata had announced the NX, which I did a lot of NX stuff for years, and then the Switch came out, which was around the time I hit 1,000 subscribers on that channel, and then it just kind of died, and I just kind of gave up. I had to start working full time, obviously, when I moved out, so YouTube was kind of on the back burner. But then, at the end of 2021, I just was like, okay, I'm just gonna try this again. I don't need all these dead subs, and it worked out. So just be consistent. It's hard to be consistent. Some people will, attach to it easier than others. I'm pretty proud of myself with how consistent I've been for the past 2.5 years. I upload almost daily. I actually haven't uploaded like for the past week. Tucker, I don't know.
Not this week.
I was thinking like, I was planning all these Tears of the Kingdom videos, but then I was like, wait a second, people are just playing the game now. Because I uploaded a couple videos the day the game came out, and they did not do well at all. And it's not just about them doing well. But I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it breathe. People are playing the game. Take a break from your old Uncle BoTalksGames. You can take a break. But just do what you want. Moral of the story, do what you want. Feel good doing it. Videos might not be great at first, but eventually you will enjoy them. All right, final question, Tucker, before we end off here. We've broken the record every time in terms of length, by the way. I'm so happy. This is gonna be over 3 hours.
Oh Jesus. I'm fucking sweating, bro.
No, I'm saying, bro, it gets hot. All right.
Okay, last question. Let's do it.
Yeah. Van the Man asked, "What's your most anticipated game of this year now that Tears of the Kingdom is out?" So this is, I feel like, a pretty cut and dry answer for maybe both of us. I don't even know. I've been doing this a lot with my hands. I don't know why. I just be holding them up. So obviously Tears of the Kingdom was number 1 for me, and now we're going into June, like you said, Final Fantasy 16. I'm cautiously optimistic and excited for Final Fantasy 16.
About good things
me too. But there's something about it that just, I don't know. I'm cautious. I love 15. I love every Final Fantasy game I've played for the most part. So I'm excited to try that out. And that's probably it. But in terms of a game I'm confident in, Spider-Man 2, baby, Insomniac. They know. They got the sauce, Tucker.
They got the fucking sauce.
I'm so excited. And that's why I'm excited for this event next week, because I know we're getting, maybe not a release date, but probably a release month, and certainly gameplay.
Absolutely we're getting a fucking release date.
I don't know. I could see them doing some weird shit where they're like, here's a trailer, expect more in a state of play in August, and then they dated then or something like that. So I'm cautious with this PlayStation event. But either way, we're seeing more Spider-Man next week, and that's very exciting to me, because I think that's probably number 1. I can't even think what else there's not a lot announced, I feel like.
No,
obviously,
there's
Starfield's coming out. I don't really care that much personally.
This actually happens every year, and I think people don't recognize this necessarily. The cycle that we go through is the second half of the year is really only filled out by the summer announcement season, which is kicking off next week with this PlayStation Showcase. So by the end of the month, I guess, mid-June, late June, we will know what the end of 2023 will be like, and it will be very busy. I guarantee that. I think that this year has already started off kind of strong. I mean, I haven't played a lot of the games that came out in the early part of this year.
I haven't played
the ones I played. I didn't.
Year, I don't think, except for
really?
I I started Resident Evil 4. Oh yeah, I did play Forspoken. I made time for that.
Yeah.
I played a little bit of RE4 and Dead Space, but I didn't finish them. I need to get back to RE4 for sure.
But for me, I've got three answers. One is Spider-Man, as you said, Spider-Man 2. Marvel Spider-Man and Marvel Spider-Man, Miles Morales, two of the best games I've ever fucking played. I love those games to death. Incredible. And I really do think that Insomniac, with the quality of their games and the way that they iterate, I think that this will be a very special game. I expect this to be their biggest game.
It's gonna feel like DLC, Tucker.
No, it fucking won't. It's gonna have a different map. They can't do the same fucking map for a third time. So is that Pikmin 4 is my Nintendo answer. It's the only other.
It's the only possible answer.
Yes, it's the only possible answer. But I'm also very genuinely excited for that game. I think every time we see that game,
I'm
more unique.
I'm always lukewarm with Pikmin, but I know as soon as I play it, I will be so happy.
Sure. You know. Yeah.
It's not like a hype game for me, but I know once I'm playing it, it's gonna be good.
Especially because I mean that's another like pie in the sky game, like been in development for fucking half of our entire lifetime.
Holy shit! And then that's actually true.
It is true.
It's actually true.
And then another smaller game that I'm sure none of you know about, and frankly might not even come out this year. But it's announced, and if it comes out this year, I want to be able to say that this is one of my excited games of the year. A game called Flock. Have you heard of Flock?
I've not heard of Flock.
Flock, published by Annapurna Interactive and developed by a little team called Hollow Pawns, which is run by a guy named Rick Hogg and another guy named Ricky Haggett, and these two make some of my favorite games. And they're games you might not have heard of, but a game called I Am Dead, which is a weird story puzzle game where you're phasing in and out of things. And one of my favorite games of all time, a game called Wilmot's Warehouse. Wilmot's Warehouse, where you control a little block guy and you organize a giant fucking warehouse for like 10 hours, is great. And Flock has a super unique art style, and you're flying around with a bunch of weird little creatures. I have no idea what it's going to actually be like, but I love the games that these guys design so much. They're unlike anything you've ever played before, and they have such unique visual style with this consistent art style that these guys have dreamed up. I cannot wait for this game, and it's because I'm just such a big fan of both I Am Dead and Wilmot's Warehouse. I adore the games from this team.
For sure. You talking about like a smaller, lesser known game made me remember something. I don't know if it's scheduled for this year. I'm sure. I think it was in. I don't know where it was announced actually. It was maybe a Summer Games Fest or something, or Gamescom. I'm not sure. This is from All Possible Futures, run by James Turner and someone else. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know their name.
James Turner from fucking Games Freak.
Yes.
What the fuck?
This is a game called The Plucky Squire, Devolver Digital. Oh, it was in the Devolver Direct. This is The Plucky Squire. This game looks so fucking good.
It looks unreal. Like, is this actually how it's gonna look?
Right. So I'm not sure if it's coming out this year.
Also Hindsight. I forgot about that. I need to fucking put that on my list. Hindsight. So excited for Hindsight.
This is a game where you basically it's really cute art style that's like kind of like Link's Awakening when you're in 3D, but you basically go in like pages of the book, or like you need to go into like a coffee mug to get around this corner or something.
Yes.
That kind of stuff. And you're like interacting, like there's I'm looking at the trailer right now. There's a puzzle where like you pick up a word and you move it to like change it so that the wall, you can pass through the wall, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You're going in between 2D spaces and 3D spaces, and a really unique art style, and it's really adorable. It's that James Turner art. If you don't know, James Turner, like you said, Pucker, is he was a Pokemon designer. He designed Pokemon, like actual designs. This game looks
vanilla.
Yes, notoriously. But this game looks fucking awesome, and I really hope it comes out this year. And I hope it lives up to what I'm seeing, because this will be their first game. He was an artist, and I think he's just mostly the artist for this game. And then of course I'm sure they have a pretty decent team now with Devolver behind them. But I hope it's not, half baked. We'll say. I'm cautiously optimistic, but it looks really good.
Yeah,
so
it does.
This could be a sleeper hit this year if it comes out.
Oh, absolutely. No, yeah, I forgot about that one. I totally agree. And I'm the kind of indie person that really keeps an eye on whatever both Annapurna and Devolver are putting out. I really think their consistency is so off the fucking charts. And even games like Angerfoot, that game looks awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Another indie one, Viewfinder.
That looks awesome.
Taking pictures and using the pictures to like change the environment looks crazy. The next game from from one of the creators of Limbo and Inside.
I'm waiting for that. Is that coming this year?
I don't know, man. I mean, it was shown off at like Xbox last year.
Okay.
It could.
Because Inside is one of my favorite games of all time.
Oxenfree 2, finally. I love Oxenfree. I can't wait for a sequel. God forbid Yacht Club come up with a new IP. Me to the Holler.
Well, okay. Well, I was about to say that. If we're talking indie games, I'm not gonna sit here and say like indie games are my most anticipated, because I'm gonna be honest, they aren't. And generally speaking, and Plucky Squire I'll play day one, of course. And Mina the Holler I was gonna bring up. I played it at PAX. Fucking awesome. I don't know if I'll get to it on day one, but I'm very excited for it. And there was another game I was gonna fucking mention. Keep talking. There's another indie game. Hades 2. Hades 2.
Oh god,
that's coming out this year. I think early access.
Oh maybe. Man, I love Hades so much.
Hades is great. I love Supergiant. And if we, let me be honest, games fantastic. I just want more music. Give me that Ashley
Barrett Hades music. Oh yeah,
music with Darren Korb. Oh my god, just give me Supergiant music. That's honestly, I view them as a fucking music company, and then I play the games in addition. There's a lot of cool stuff coming out this year.
There's a lot of cool stuff, but for me, it's mostly the smaller stuff, and I do include the smaller independent games as my most anticipated games, like Humanity. I mean, that was not as anticipated as Tears of the Kingdom, of course, but it was up there for me. And because we don't have too much of the big stuff by the end of the year that we know, most of my list is to be announced dates of games from indie creators that I really like. And I don't know. I think I've got a very balanced interest. But as these games come out, I certainly am excited to talk about them all.
And it's like you said, our most anticipated will probably change next week.
Yes,
I would certainly fucking hope so.
Yes.
Maybe something like Stellar Blade's coming out this year, or maybe that Rise of the Ronin game. I don't know. There's a lot to hopefully expect from Sony, because they've been so quiet, and that should. I haven't played my fucking PS5 in like a year and a half. It feels like, so I'm excited. Well, aside from like Call of Duty, but that doesn't count. That's not real. It's not a real game, Tucker.
Call of Duty's not a real game.
It doesn't count anymore. I'm disowning it from being a game. Tucker, thank you for joining me on this podcast. We just continuously make longer and longer podcasts. By the end of the year, this is going to be like a 6-hour podcast.
Good.
So if you want, here's how you can artificially increase the length of this podcast. If you like a long podcast, just write in a bunch of questions, because we're picking most of them.
Yes.
Do you have any closing thoughts, Tucker, before we head out here?
The bow meal.
Gotta get that.
That's all I can think about. That's all
I can think about.
I want some.
I did have the bow meal yesterday. So.
Oh, okay.
I actually had it yesterday. Yeah, I'm excited for you. Let's talk about that next week.
I'm excited.
Maybe really we should do a special video where we eat it on camera.
Well, I'm gonna be eating it in hopefully like 20 minutes. So.
All right. So subscribe here, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those places, and we'll see you all next week. Farewell. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye.